Welcome to Cranky Live Sports Talk, where passion meets action.
Hey sports fans, I am Cranky, and this is the Cranky Live Sports Talk, the podcast where we dive deep into the hottest topics, the biggest games, and the most controversial moments in sports.
Whether it's football, basketball, track and field, cricket, or soccer, we've got you covered with expert analysis, insider interviews, and unfiltered opinions.
Join me as I chat with the biggest names in sports, get exclusive insights and stories you won't hear anywhere else.
Cranky Live Sports Talk is where you can hear the real talk, the hard-hitting questions, and the hottest takes.
So, if you're a true sports fanatic, you don't want to miss out? Subscribe now to the Cranky Live Sports Talk on YouTube and hit that bell icon to never miss an episode.
Cranky Live Sports Talk, where sports come alive. Subscribe today.
I was talking and Mike wasn't on. I don't know what happened. I apologize for that. I like to do my little soliloquy at the start of all of my programs. So today is more of a personal story that I want to tell. Because as I said before, I think part of the objective of some of the people in this space is not just to talk about sports, at least for me anyway, but other things which are life situations, life stories, life examples. And I think, bless up 432 Presser. Thanks for being here. And tonight is one of those discussions. So you probably won't see a ton of people on the chat because, people are, they going to talk reggae boys football for Jamaica people 24/7. Or they may want to talk some other kind of football. But today is not, we will talk some football in the inception of the program. But today is not it's not an early football night. It's more of a personal story night. Somebody who will join me, hopefully in the next 15 minutes or so. So before I jump into that, let me go through some of the things that I want to talk about for a couple of minutes. And then we'll talk some Champion League results. I'm sure Portuguese Presser will congratulate my team and myself about how well we have done. So I decided this month that next month, I'm setting myself these goals throughout the year, right? I hope I can achieve this goal. So next month, I'm eating limited to no processed foods. So what's a processed food? Things like bread and cake and bun, all them things that I'm going and then put out other ingredients in them to make them not spoil quickly and all that. I decided that next month, I'm not going to say none, because you don't want to make that none statement and then you can adhere to it. But I'm going to make a concerted effort not to eat any processed food. And I already laid out what I'm going to eat. So let's hope I can stick to it. But that's part of the plan. And I want to see what the implications are to my body, even though right now I don't eat a ton of processed food. I don't eat some. There's a raisin bread that is in the stores in New York nowadays. And I'm telling you, that bread it got to be like 2,000 plus calories if the bread in total, maybe more than that. And you can eat that bread in one sitting, much less 2 sittings, frankly. It's that good. You don't have to eat it with butter or cheese or anything. Or in a sandwich, you can just eat the bread by itself. But as you know, anything that good, it can't be good for you. So I have decided that that bread is going to go on layaway for a while. I'm a farm it out like we're trying to farm out Rashford 433, but hopefully it gets farmed out. So I'm not eating that bread. So when we reduce processed food, because I do think that processed food, there are a lot of studies being done to show how detrimental it is to your health. I'm not sure we were made as people to eat processed food, actually. So BM said, do you have a cholesterol problem? I find a health issue for most people. I did at one point. It's gotten much better. I think the problem for, especially for Black people, is around like diabetes or type 2 diabetes, where you eat, and the range is from like, what, about 6 to below 6. If you go over 6, whatever it is. And I think I'm on that threshold. So it's been a challenge, frankly. One point I got it down really, really well because I didn't eat any processed food. And then all of a sudden it went back up. So, but no, I don't. I used to have a cholesterol problem. It receded quite a bit. So we'll see where it is now. I got to go back to the doctor this year to go get my physical, because I do get my physical every year. But I think it's what you eat a lot of time that destroys your system. And people don't seem to realize that. Like me, stop eating meat, for example, is something which I did, I wouldn't say a ton of research on, but enough to know how I felt eating meat and not eating meat. And I was like, nah, I'm stop doing this. This can't be good for you. Plus, I make sure, I don't think we're made to eat each other. Now, you may say, we're not eating each other. What are you talking about, cranky? We're not cannibal. No, I know. I know what you call eating meat. It's a similar composition as you. So that's why I view it. It sounds really terrible saying that, a little morbid, I think, but it's a fact. It can't be denied. And people give me a hard time about you eat this, and I'm saying, you could eat your meat. I'm not going to fight you to eat it. It's your prerogative, but I'm not doing it anymore. I gave that up. I think the meat thing maybe, I like the same thing is permanent. I think the meat thing may be permanent. Right? The meat, just meat itself, it's been years and years now. So, but it's everyone to their own, right? They're meat industries. People get out of job if you stop eating. So, yeah. I am listening, will not respond to any discussion. But I would need a fresher, because you and Drew Ross, and even my guest who's going to come on, are Man U fan, and it's been a long year. You guys need to know how you manage your money. It's not how much money you're making; it's how much you keep. You're not doing it good enough. Now, a couple more things before I jump into Champions League football. The mystery drones flying over New Jersey, supposedly Trump came in and said it was approved by the FAA or whoever it was that did this approval. So why didn't they just tell everybody that a long time ago? What was the secret? And the drones were why was the secret? People were running around, leaving their house, getting all nervous, thought they were being invaded by aliens. Because everything is something in the air you don't recognize, you think it's an alien, right? As the alien may not come from under the earth and come from in the sky. I don't know why we think that it's going to always be in the sky. We're trained to think that way. And a lot of things that you've been trained to think about in life over time, you realize that we're only as good as what we know. So yeah, that doesn't work. Second is Trump rescinded the freeze on federal grant and funding. You know how much chaos that must have caused? So the U.S. doled out a ton of money. So imagine people supposed to get paid, money got to move, transaction got to occur, and he's dead because he froze These people come in with this grandiose idea of materially changing something been in existence forever. You know how hard that is, people? I'm not saying people shouldn't initiate change, but you have to be careful when you break something, because you may not be able to fix it. And they come in to break things because they say the government is corrupt and government is this and that. You got to be careful when you come to break something, because you may just break something permanently. But anyway, they cause a lot of angst and problems, Medicaid, all kind of payment, Medicaid payment. A judge did block it temporarily, but now they rescind the order, because him and his people who are part of Project 25 came in with this grandiose idea to change the world. All they're trying to do is make America white again, but it may not work. And I said it, they're trying to make America white again, or because they're very concerned about the population change, demographic change, where whites sit in the order, and they don't feel good about it. And then Trump offers buyout to 2 million federal workers. The federal government is big, people. The federal government is almost as big as Jamaica, local population Jamaica. So imagine all the people in Jamaica being employed by the federal government. In fact, it's bigger, because in Jamaica, I'm sure the working population probably is less than 2 million, I would think, if you think about all different age groups. So if that's the case, the Jamaica, number of people live in Jamaica who are of working age probably work for the U.S. government. We'll see how that works. How many people take it? I would probably say a number of people take it, especially ones close to retirement, especially what's happening. They don't want to deal with the nonsense. But it should be an interesting time, actually. Interesting time for people in the government, because at the end of the day, when you're used to doing a job, and people in the government have sometimes the most cushy job, bless up jagams, the most cushy jobs, the most secure jobs. When it's like being a professor in college when you're tenured, same concept, right? They reach a certain grade, their pensions are beautiful. I used to work with a colleague of mine who left that job after retirement and came to work at my company in a senior role. And he was telling me all the benefits he medically gets. And he was in the FBI. Medically gets, money he gets. You retire smiling. You have nothing to worry about for the rest of your life. So he's upsetting all that. Bless up float management. Thanks for joining. He's upsetting all of that, people. He's destroying all of that. So if you are in the federal government, I suggest you look at your resume. You may have put it under the table. It may be gathering dust. I suggest you look at it, because Elon Musk is going to try to apply private way of operating the government. It ain't working. I'm telling you that right now. That's not how life works. Government's a whole different ballgame. So we'll see how that works. So last but not least, I hope my guest comes in the next 4 or 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'll have to do and figure this out. Is to talk about the Champions League table. I wouldn't even go to the games. The games are done. Right? I'm going to go to the table, because the games are done. We know who won. You guys even know more than I do, because you guys follow this thing as religiously as I do. So here is the table. Let me try to bring this up. So you can see that Liverpool won, even though Liverpool played their what they played today? Their C team or their D team? Which team they played today? I don't know what team they played. I looked at the Liverpool team, even the bench, and they had nobody on the bench. I mean, there was no Nunes, no Diaz, no Gakpo, no Gravenberg. No, sorry, Gakpo played. Gakpo is the only player I truly recognize. People like Kwanzaa, you see them play, but they don't play regularly. And the left back. But there is no Trent. There is no Sabashla. There is nobody. Shabaski, whatever his name is, midfielder. Garenberg didn't play. Salah didn't play. Nunes didn't play. Jota, they weren't even on the bench, people. And they still probably could have won the game, because they lost 3-2 or whatever the score was. But they already won the first round. So now we get into the real round. We have a home and away. So if you know the Champions League is there's 36 teams. First through 8 get a bye. It's like you see in the NFL in the first round. The 9 through 24 have to play each other home and away. I think the story of the day was Man City playing Bruges, was it? And struggling, down 1-0. Let me just say this. If it was a better team they played today, they would have lost. Their defense, have you ever seen, you guys can tell me, ever seen a team go through such a metamorphosis in the wrong direction ever? Like, their defense was awful. Gundogan has no legs. De Bruyne is a shell of himself. Savino came on second half and saved them. He came on and was, as he's always been this season, just can't score goals, but he scored today. He just roasts the right back, creating havoc, forcing him to double team. If you don't double team, he's going to beat his man. So, yeah, they won, but I'm not impressed. I thought that if that team had a little more firepower, they'd have won the game. Barca came second, even though they drew today. Arsenal won against Girona. We didn't play our best team by far, and Sterling didn't impress again today. He missed a penalty too. I was saying on the stream he shouldn't take the penalty. I know he's going to miss the penalty. He has no confidence. Plus, he doesn't like to take penalty. When England played in the Euros, when he played, he didn't take the penalty. When the other day when Arsenal played, he's not a good penalty taker. He's a good free kick taker, not a good penalty taker. He's thinking too much. And I know he should not take the penalty. And if you're going to take a penalty nowadays, to me, I think you should hesitate. Don't go and blast it, because the keeper gets right no matter how hard you kick it. He placed it, but he had no pace on it. He was trying to guide it into the goal. So if you're going to guide it that way, you got to play it on the other side. So run up, fake the kick, then kick. Let the keeper make a move. Do like what Georgina does. Because then, and what Tony does, They stop. The keeper freezes because he doesn't know where to go or not. And then hopefully you kick the ball to the right corner. So Inter obviously is through, 19 points. Atletico Madrid, they host their team today. Lille and Aston Villa. So yeah, very, very good. Very, very good. All right. So we got 7:15. We're on time. We're on time. We're on time. We're on time. So I think I mentioned to you guys before, I like to do I want to do more personal stories because part of my goal on this channel is to not just focus on sports, because I think sports is a great thing to have, but I think us as people focus on sports too much, and it actually derails our community, frankly. Blacks basically dominate a lot of sports, especially the more money-oriented ones, apart from maybe tennis. And yet, if you go into society in general, even though we do okay, that dominance doesn't reside. In fact, we struggle. So I'm fortunate this evening to have with me, let me bring on stage, Dr. Don. Bless up. Good evening. How you doing?
What's good, Cranky? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everybody in the chat?
Huh?
What's going on, everybody? Can you hear me, Frank?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me, Cranky. I really appreciate being here. As you know, I've been following you and several of the YouTubers in this space for some time now, and you and pretty much everybody I've interacted with has been very respectful and great. So I just want to come on today to share my perspective and my journey into medicine with you and everybody else.
Yeah, well, awesome. I'll be glad to have you, actually, because as I said before, we want to bring people in who are doing well in society in general, not just in sports, because we, as a people, we do much more than sports, but all you see us through is that lens. And it's not necessarily the lens we should all go through, because the NBA only have 450 players. The Premier League is not much bigger than that. So even though we have sports distributed across the globe, there are much more people in the medical field than there are in sports, frankly, and more other disciplines, right? Finance or otherwise. So I brought you on this evening. So this is Dr. Dan. People is a commenter who's now in the chat. He and I had some conversation in the background. And I mentioned to him that I would love for him to tell his story, because even if you can influence one person, that's a great thing, right? That's the objective here, is to inform, educate, be informed and be educated, but also give back in some respects, no matter way we can in any way, shape, or form. Good evening, Dennis. And by the way, Dennis is in Florida, just like Dr. Dan is, actually. And by the way, Dennis does some things in Jamaica for Dr. Dan, so you guys should link. But anyway, I'm here to make connections too. He's not a doctor, but he's in that field. He does some work in that field.
We will.
So let's start out. Let's do a historical or chronological sequence of events from when you were born to now. I'll just plug in the questions. You take it away. So just introduce yourself first, and then I'll go to the questions. Let's go to the questions.
So I was born in Miami, but I grew up in Waterhouse and Mandeville as well. With my
so wait. You were in Waterhouse before Mandeville, or vice versa?
So it was back and forth. So basically my parents, because apparently I was not the greatest kid growing up. I was kind of bad. So my parents would send me from Miami to Jamaica in the summertime. And at one point I actually stayed there for a few years because my dad was still kind of going back and forth in Jamaica as well. So I grew up mainly in Waterhouse with my aunt and my grandma in Porus, Manchester.
So were you born in the U.S. or born in Jamaica?
I was born in the U.S. I was born in Miami.
Okay.
Jackson Memorial Hospital.
But you spent a lot of time in Jamaica.
Yeah, I spent my formative years there, like my younger years, until about middle school. I never went back after middle school.
So you went to what, like primary school, not high school though?
I went to Porus Primary School. I took my common entrance. I passed to go to Manchester High, Knox College in Belfield.
Okay. So you left before high school?
Correct.
Okay. So tell me about your family background, history, life in Jamaica, life in Miami. What's that like?
So, fun fact, my mom is Nigerian, my dad is Jamaican. So
they met in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They met in Florida. And then my dad will often go back and forth to Jamaica. And so because my dad would be in Jamaica most of the time, my mom couldn't really raise me and my other two siblings. So I'm the last of three. So my mom would kind of like send me back to spend time with my dad's side of family, like I said, which is my aunt and my grandma.
Okay. And what were your favorite subject in school, for example?
My favorite My favorite subject growing up was math. I really liked it because I felt like it came easy for me. I just didn't understand anything else. I hated reading. I did not like to write at all. But I did like to do research because then that would have helped me in terms of when I'm having conversation with other people in the room, I can be able to speak on many things instead of one. So that was kind of my main reasons. As we get into conversation, you see, that's the reason why I went into accounting and finance, because I thought the math aspect, the analytical abilities, what I had is what I wanted to do it.
Oh, okay. So how did growing up, well, it looked like you grew up between Jamaica and Miami or the US.
Yeah.
How did Jamaica sort of shape who you are in a sense? Because you're in a half Jamaican household. I'm gonna call it half Jamaican household with your dad. And then you go back to Jamaica, it's all Jamaican household, right? So how did that sort of shape who you are actually as you evolve as a person?
So, well, like I said, growing up in Jamaica, like I said, I consider myself a ghetto kid, ghetto youth, as they say, because I grew up in the Watch House area.
Why? Because it's cool? Because it's cool? You get it?
Nah, I feel like growing up in Jamaica was the happiest part of my life because it was carefree. I remember growing up, I used to just run up and down in the street. I didn't have to worry about no bills. My mom would send money down and everything, Me and my cousin would be all over the place. Only thing I had to do is like, whenever I got to go to school and come back. But I think the greatest thing I learned there is like I saw the struggles of other people, including my family, and it instilled in me that work ethic as to what I wanted to do. And I think from a longer time, I knew I wanted an education because nobody in my limited family per se were like highly educated and had an education, a secondary education per se. So that helped me growing up. And it actually shaped me as well because I'm a very well-rounded person. I can cook now. So it's like, I remember in Sundays, my grandma used to bring me to go cook and everything like that. So now I'm able to just like, I don't need a woman to do anything for me. I can do my own thing. I can cook and I can clean. In fact, that's one of my tagline when I talk to women is like, I love to cook and they like that, Well,
I would say for me, I go to the restaurant. So I'm same like you. You can cook for yourself. A restaurant can cook for me. I can't cook. So where do you go to? Where in Florida did you live, and where did you go to high school?
So I lived in Miami Beach. I went to North Miami Beach High School. If anybody here knows Miami, it's on right by Aventura Mall. I went to North Miami Beach High School, and I lived in North Miami Beach area right there. So that's where I pretty much grew up. Went to church there, everything. I was going to church every day, basically. Every day Sunday. My mom, imagine growing up in a religious Jamaican household. You just going to church every Sunday, Monday through Sunday. And I had to go to Sunday school. I had to go to regular service. Monday was Bible study. Tuesday was choir practice. I played the drums and the bass guitar and the keyboard, and then so on and so forth.
So you didn't play any sports then? You played any sports?
I did. So in high school, okay. I was a 3-star sports in high school. I ran track. I played football, and I played soccer. And I had scholarship to all 3 of them.
Wait, scholarship to college or college to high school?
College.
So wait, you ran track. What distance did you run?
I ran the 100, the 200, 4x4. But my fastest time was like 10.5. It was not really the best. 22.5 in the 200. Again, Miami, a lot of horses. So I wasn't doing that. I played football. I was a defensive back and receiver. And then soccer, I was a midfield.
So you were very athletic, actually. If you play, because I always thought that people who played football, this is going to sound really bad, we're not necessarily, up here is not really what it should be because the game is so physical. You end up with severe disabilities when you finish playing most times. A lot of times, I should say anyway. Something doesn't work right when you finish playing. Some part of your body is destroyed.
We're going to expand on that.
We're not talking about soccer, we're talking about American football. We're talking about American football.
Because I went into medical school, medicine because of neurology. And neurology is what the brain is what damaged when you play football. So I'll expand on that later, yeah.
Okay. That is interesting. So you went to high school there. Anything in high school that sort of stood out that we should know about?
Well, yes. I think what shaped me in high school, if anybody's from Florida knows, the North Miami Beach area is like NMB is about say 80% immigrants, right? So you have a mixture of Cubans, Haitians, and Jamaicans. And in my area, a lot of them were from family with underserved areas where you just know once they're done, it's done for them. There's no thing going on before because it was difficult. So for me, there was a lot of gangs in the area. I used to hang out with a gang called One Way. My mom used to was like, "Hey, what is going on?" She kind of like sheltered me a lot. And I started seeing my friends having kids and dropping out at like 15, 16 years old. So I set my mindset there was saying, "Hey, listen, I no longer want to be, like this. I want to work." So I started just like every Saturday, I started going to school because I couldn't afford the SAT books and everything like that. My mom got me a library card, and I would just go there and rent the book for a couple hours and study, and then go hang out with my friends. I couldn't really, I didn't have cable growing up because my parents couldn't really afford it. And these things really what pushed me to want to this is not the life I wanted. I remember asking my parents for money. I would say, "Mom, let me get $10 when I really want like $30, $40 because I know they can afford it to give it to me." So all that upbringing, seeing how my friends can able to go buy new shoes and everything like that, I couldn't do it. I started working at Miami Subs Grill at 12. You're not supposed to work that young, So whenever the inspector would come around, I would have to hide in the freezer because I was too young. I was small then. I didn't get my growth spurt until about like 12th grade. So all that combined with the struggles I saw my parents was going through, I realized that I want something greater for myself. So I started playing better in sports. I was like, I need to get a scholarship in this so I can help go somewhere.
But you must have had the grades though, right?
I did, but it wasn't the greatest. I barely cracked the 3.0. It wasn't like, I was an average student, but I was an average student. Barely, a 3.0 was what I was an average student.
So where that self-motivation come from? Or did you have mentors or people around you, even though it may be a challenging environment, that were examples, that are people that you could emulate?
So I think my main motivation, Cranky, was family. And like I said, growing up in Jamaica, I saw how the environment was. And I said I didn't want to be like that. Like, my cousins and people around me and family around me. So that motivation was the issue that I saw right there. I did have some mentors. Like I said, being that I grew up in a very religious home, there's one lady, she was an accountant, work at FAU. She was also my main source of inspiration as well. And again, that's why I also went into accounting, because she was the accountant. Whenever you go to a place where there's not a lot of educated people, but there's that one educated person you see with nice car and flexing, I was like, yeah, that's kind of what it was for me. And so I kind of yeah.
Right. And so you, after high school, you went to college.
Yeah.
So where did you decide to go to school? How did that work? You say you had scholarships to go to school. How did the process work?
So I'll tell you. So I had a track scholarship at Liberty University in Virginia. Right. I had a soccer scholarship at St. Thomas Aquinas. But that one I had to try out, and they gave me a partial scholarship, St. Thomas Aquinas. Everybody from Miami knows that. I had a full football scholarship to Eastern Michigan University. So at that time, my friend and I was going. So I took the initial scholarship to Eastern Michigan University. So I played there 1 year. 1 year. And after the coach left Eastern Michigan University, went to Philadelphia to Temple, and I followed him. So back then, the rules were you have to sit out a year. Now, if you go in the transfer portal, you no longer have to sit out a year. So within sitting out that year, I kind of got myself together and got my grades together. I had an academic scholarship. I went on a dean's list. As you know, the dean's list is when you make a 3.5 and above in a year. So that's what happened kind of there. Yeah. And I was playing, I also played soccer for the college as well. Because it's kind of the similar season, but I missed a couple weeks because soccer and football overlaps in terms of season wise.
So what was your major? Because you mentioned you transferred from Eastern Michigan to go to Temple. You had to sit out a year. So I guess that gave you more time to focus on schoolwork. Because I always wondered how people play two sports and do their schoolwork. That's challenging. give them a practice time. So what did you major? What was your major when you went to college? Did you decide to major initially, or did it evolve over time?
No, my major was always accounting and finance. That never changed. I always accounting and finance. Like I mentioned to you earlier, because I felt that I was strong in like analytical math, everything. So that was always my major. And that 1 year is where I realized that I could have done many other things with that. Where you can, if you work hard enough, your grade is good enough, you can get scholarship. I mean, internship. I didn't know anything about that because I was a bonehead. All I cared about was soccer, sports, and girls. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I was one of those bonehead athletes. You know what I mean? I wasn't studying as hard as I can. But I was one of those persons. I go over the material 2-3 times when I was done. I got it. You know what I mean? I memorized it and stuff like that. So that 1 year, I get to hunker down and go from there. Yeah.
So you're at Temple. How was life at Temple anyway?
So Philadelphia is like little Jamaica to me, you know.
I know that Temple is Bill Cosby and Don Chaney. Those are the names that I know from Temple.
So
in terms, and I've been around Temple. I haven't been to Temple. I've been around Temple. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Temple. So basically, Temple is I want to explain. So now it's gentrified, but when I got there, Temple was rough. The first day I got to Temple cranky, I got a gun put to my head, and I'm not making this up. Cause then I had dreads, and I had dreads then at the time, like fake dreads. It wasn't locked, but you know they had a dreads or blade, so they thought I was someone else. I could just tell you the story. So this was I went to a party, and I remember this to today, PTSD. I went to a party, and I got out the party at like 3 a.m. in the morning. I went to go get General Tso's chicken at a Chinese restaurant. This was on Diamond and Broad Street. Anybody from Philadelphia will tell you. Diamond and Broad Street is really bad. So I went to a house party that came off, and I saw these Puerto Rican guys. They were driving a black Suburban. One of them came out the car, and he had a 9mm chrome handgun. He came up to me and he was crying. You could tell he was drunk. Now I'm in medicine. I know what the effect of alcohol is. And he put a gun to me. He was like, I heard you talking shit. And I was like, bro, it's not me. And I ran around the car, and I saw police was coming. I tried to flag it down. He didn't. So the Chinese lady just ran in the back and closed the door. So I was like, man, my heart started beating. That time I had a Ford Explorer, a white Ford Explorer. And then I jumped and I left. And I was like, damn, it was me and my friend. My friend was like, he went and borrowed somebody's gun. I'm like, I'm going back to get my food. He's like, do you want to come? I'm like, I'm not going to kill myself over General Tso's chicken, which is like $7, you know? So I never went back. And ever since that day, I do not go out because I have PTSD. I don't even go out anymore.
Wow, that's an interesting story. And people sometimes have these situations with just happen chance, wrong place at the wrong time. Actually.
Yeah. But other than that, Temple is good. It's Fox School of Business is one of the best school regionally in all the U.S. Obviously, apart from like Wharton and stuff like that. So I learned a lot, and the area is really good. Philadelphia is a pocket. You have a pocket of Brazilians. You have the Jamaicans in West Philly, and you have the Africans, the Nigerians in like part of West Philly. And then you have South Philly where the Eagles play, which you get the Italian mobsters. So it was like that. So I was playing on a league team with the Jamaicans. They have something in Philadelphia called Unity Cup, where each team plays against each country. So like Nigeria will have a team, the Jamaicans have a team, and the winner will win the Unity Cup if anybody want to look it up. So I played with a bunch of Jamaicans. So I was really missing Jamaica in a sense because I was still going to Jamaican hang out with them in terms after the game. So yes, that aspect of it was good. I actually miss that right now in Florida, but so I didn't much. Yeah, it was good.
So I have to digress a little bit from school. We come back to school. So when people ask you, what are you, Jamaican or Nigerian? What do you say?
I always say I'm the best of both worlds, because if you think about the Caribbean, it's Jamaica. If you think about Africa, it's Nigeria. So I always so I am Nigerian in certain aspect. I'm Jamaican in certain aspect, but I think I'm more Jamaican because I grew up in Jamaica.
Right. Okay.
My mom actually used to live in Jamaica as well before,
right.
As well. So my household was highly influenced by Jamaicans. So I mean, my dad is Jamaican. I have my dad last name, so it's not like I have my mom Nigerian name. So I am right. I don't really tell people that. It's only because we're on the interview I tell you that, but I don't really tell people that. I'm not ashamed. Obviously, Nigerians are.
No, I know exactly what it goes back to the whole question. When somebody asks somebody, one parent is white, one parent is black. What are you? And if you don't say you're black, they lose their mind, and you're laughing, thinking. That's why I asked you the question, because you're half, right? Not because somebody Caucasian says 1% blood is non-Caucasian. You're both Nigerian and Jamaican. You may affinity for one side more than the other, but you're both Nigerian and Jamaican.
But Cranky, to be frank though, like I said, I was my formidable years, meaning like where I grew up. You know, they're saying child development, right? It's from 0 to 12, right? Most of my development was in Jamaica, so I consider myself fully fledged.
I totally get it. I totally get it. Did you have any mentors in college?
In college, no, I did not. I just mainly would just follow, basically read online and just see things I want to do and just try to copy it and then go from there. But I didn't really have any mentors in college. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very prideful. So I feel like, it's just like, for instance, I know a lot of people is like, why don't you join a frat? I'm like, if I work hard and my grade is better than you, I'm gonna get the job over you. I said, why? I ask people, why do you in a frat? Because frat gives you that edge. Because what if the person is a alpha? I'm like, I don't believe in that. So I'm one of those person where I believe in meritocracy, right? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna work my way. So I never really wanted a mentor. What are they gonna tell me? Work hard and study hard. I'm gonna do it anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah. Did you have any internship while in college?
So now we get to the fun part. So yes, I did. I had offers from Deloitte, KPMG, and PwC. I took PwC because at the time my friend Andres from Guyana, he was also at PwC. So I took PwC, and I worked in the finance department. The tax department. I was doing 1120 at the time. So it's 6 weeks. It's internships is 6 weeks. So I took that. I did it for 6 weeks, and I was in 1140, 1120 tax, corporate tax, and I did personal tax. So they would pull me if they need help on the personal tax side.
Oh, okay. Because sometimes it's very difficult, especially given what school you go to. Maybe it's better in Philadelphia. New York is a bit interesting in terms of being able to get those nice internship, working for big companies. You have no idea what it's going to look like when you leave school, right? It's very important you get that exposure early, actually.
Okay. So I don't know. So I know when I was there, a lot of the big companies will come and recruit at the colleges. So I'll always have my resume handed out to them, and then they'll text me. Like I said, I graduated undergrad with a 365. So so I wasn't.
Yeah. So you had a very good GPA.
I was cum laude, whatever that is.
Yep.
Graduate 365. So that's why I ended up getting all those offers. I ended up getting those offered a year where I got straight A's. That year I got straight A, and 1 A minus, and then so my GPA was very high. I got that offer, so I took it, and I worked for 6 months. I'll never forget. I went to training in Atlanta, and that's when I learned how to play blackjack, because they pay for your training and everything like that. I was in Atlanta. I learned how to play blackjack that year, and then I worked. It was amazing. And then I end up getting an offer full time from them. So I end up getting an offer from Grant Thornton. I'm sure you know what Grant Thornton is. I got offered from KPMG, Deloitte, and PwC. And again, my friend at the time was at PwC. So what I did, I actually took the KPMG job because my friend was from New York, and he moved back to New York to work in PwC New York.
Yeah, for everyone don't know, there are a number of accounting firms in the world. The top 4 firms, as Dr. Don's alluding to, are Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and E&Y. There used to be 8 firms who were the top 8, and a lot of them sort of merged in the late 80s, early 90s, actually. And Grant Thornton is just below that level, right? So he's talking about maybe the top 5 firms in the world. I think Grant Thornton is about 5th. And they're big firms, global, some of them probably in most countries across the world. So great to be, when you're in school doing accounting, you want a job for one of those 4 firms, the top 4 firms. If you get one from Grant Thornton, good. But you want to, because then you're at the top of the chain, basically. So keep going. So where did you work? So you went to PwC where, in Atlanta?
No. So remember, after undergrad, I stayed in Pennsylvania, stayed in Philadelphia before I moved to DC to do medicine.
So where did you work in Pennsylvania?
I work in downtown Center City. So all of them is downtown Center City in the same building. So I was there. KPMG is downtown Center City.
So how long did you work there?
I worked there for 3 years until I transitioned into finance, investment banking.
So you work. So any stories working in accounting for 3 years?
Yeah, I have one.
They're grinds. I'm telling you, especially if you work during busy season, it's a grind. But
I have one.
It's a grind.
Yeah. I have plenty. So you get a corporate card, cranky, and end the term. So you have a corporate card. I'll be at work sometimes till 2 a.m. I just swipe my card and go into a hotel right there, and then I went to work the next day because you just have to just stay there, especially when you're late. And people, clients want their information done. So yes, there's times when I'm like working like hours that I'm working in medicine now, 80 hours a week or stuff like that. So
easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Those are like usually year end, quarter, those times. But I do have other experience than that. I remember driving with my CFO, and we went to go see a client, and he was vividly on the phone. One of his other friend called him like, "Hey man, this, that." He said on the phone, was like, I know this is illegal, but the SEC is not gonna catch us. Audit is not gonna catch us. So do that. And that's when stuff clicked on to me that like a lot of people who knows the books and knows things actually do stuff but won't get caught. Like I was seeing people going crazy about Trump tax return when they're saying that he did something illegal, but I'm like, he could carry forward 8 years, carry forward that way. He didn't do anything. If you lose, you got lost, you can carry forward lost 4 years and back years, you know what I mean? So people were just like, amongst other things, that's when it clicked to me. I'm like, man, these people are rich because they understand the rules and the regulation. That's when I started doing my own taxes now. I started like wiping off everything. Even when I buy my uniform now for work, I wipe it off. I do everything, So that's kind of experience and something I learned from that. But when he said that stuff, I was like, yeah, it's illegal, but we ain't gonna get caught. I was like, wow.
Wow, that's a little bit brave, especially when you're there with him.
But, I mean, it's word of mouth. Who they're gonna believe me? And I mean,
but it all depends on what he's writing off, because if he's accounting for something and it's inappropriate, and you mention it as a whistleblower, you never know.
I mean,
you never know.
That is true. I was never interested in being a whistleblower, to be honest. I'm one of those workers who do my thing, make my money, and go. I was never, a snitch. And I knew I wasn't going to be there for long, so I was like, let me just get out.
So did you ever, when you went to public, so you're there 3 years, and the highest level you can reach in public is like partner, and then there's roles within the partnership. You never thought about staying the long term to be a partner?
No. So I kind of skipped over something for you. I think we talked about it personally on the phone, but when I was at undergrad, I would say 90% of my friends were Nigerians, and out of those 90%, 90% of them were medicine. So I saw how they gravitated.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. We'll get. I was gonna say we got to transition there, so we got to get to that because I want to ask you the question, which is. Question I was going to get to, which is, the Jamaican Nigerian. See, like every Nigerian I meet is a doctor. But anyway, I don't know if you just inherit being a doctor, but a lot of Nigerians, are doctors. But no, but as you sort of think about, because we're in public working, it does take a lot out of you, actually. Especially working 80 hours, sometimes you just like, I'm done. So did you get to that point early, or it took a while to get there?
I never got to that point because I already knew what the future. I already set a 5-year goal for myself, so I knew that the goal was to move on eventually. So right. I was going to use that as stepping stone because I had my CPA. You know what I mean? It's no longer valid because I haven't been keeping up with CE, but I had my CPA, and I knew that I was getting ready to get my FA. But I was like, okay, good. If I leave, I'm gonna get somewhere anyways because I'm highly in demand. I did well in school, everything like that. The only thing I was thinking about waiting for is because they were gonna pay for my master's, my MBA. But then if they did, I would have to stay at the company for a longer time, which I didn't want to do. And I was like kind of the black guy, the only one in the company in a sense where I didn't really like the culture. You know what I mean? Because
wait, there weren't other black people there. Were you the only black person, or there were other blacks there?
There was other black people there, but it's far few. You know how it is. On my team, I was kind of the only black guy there, and I was also the youngest one there. So I couldn't fit in, cranky. Like all these people had houses in the Hamptons. I was driving a white Corolla. I was driving a white Honda Accord at the time. When I pull up in the parking lot, BMW, this, that, I just didn't fit in. You know what I mean? So all these things, and every week they're like, okay, we're going to the pub, to go to the bar, it wasn't for me. I just wanted to leave, go to the gym, and watch soccer. That's it.
Right. It's interesting because as you talk about your experiences, I remember when I was in public and I first started, there weren't many people who looked like me in the company, put it that way. And I worked at Deloitte for a long time. It was really an interesting journey, actually. But it's not about me, it's about you. So let's talk about
Deloitte pays the highest, at least when I was coming out, they paid the highest, and E&Y paid the cheapest, and then it was KPMG and PwC. That was the pay grade. When I came out, Cranky, they were offering me 70 out of undergrad. At that time, money was a lot. I mean, like, you know what I mean? That was in
So how long ago is that?
That was in 2013. 2013.
Okay. Well, I won't say what they offered me when I came on, but it's a long time ago. But it's much more than what you got. Much more than what I got. But they all paid about similar. They're very similar though. They're very similar in terms of the comp.
It wasn't much of a difference. Like $1,000 or $2,000.
Yeah, they're very similar. Yeah.
But I mean, me making $70K from a poor upbringing, I don't have to ask my parents anything. I was sending money back to Jamaica. I felt, I was making money.
Money rolling in. So when did you leave E&Y and why? And also, why investment banking?
Okay, so I left KPMG.
KPMG. Sorry, I said E&Y. KPMG.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What happened is, do you remember in 2015 or so when KPMG was keep getting SEC audit them because they would keep getting in trouble?
I think they had some tax issues, didn't they?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
They hired,
some tax offshore tax thing they did, which wasn't right, and they got a lot of trouble. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So they hired KPMG to start doing some what we call suspicious activity. We call it SARS. So they were like looking at like basically forensic accounting, right?
Yep.
So what happened was I was part of that team because that time I've already left. I left taxes. I was in assurance at that time. Because see, the thing is that I touched everything in accounting. I've done auditing, which I can do. I've done, I touched pretty much. I've done financial accounting, I've done managerial accounting, cost accounting. I can, you know what I mean?
Wow. So you did almost everything then.
Yeah. I did because I had a church sister who had a her own firm that she needed help. That I'll go and help her out, and she'd pay me. She was paying me. So that was my side hustle as well.
And people don't realize that accounting is like the medical professional sense in terms of people have specialization throughout the accounting. It's not just one. It's either accountant, just is a cost accountant, or manufacturing, or the person is financial accounting or auditor. There's a lot of different disciplines within the accounting profession.
Cost accounting, do a lot of budgeting for projects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So while I was there, people don't know that, but Chase has a small investment banking wing. It's not really big, but it's really small. And I got approached by somebody who was there. It was like, do you want to, they're looking for a banker. And I was like, you want to come on board? And I was like, I have that degree. And that's how I end up doing investment banking with Chase, because they offered me a lot more money. In fact, Cranky, I went to England to live for 6 months working for Chase, Henfield by Tottenham, working for Chase.
I lived in Enfield for 6 months. No, I lived in Enfield 2012 for 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, this was 2015, but yeah.
Wow, interesting. So how did you enjoy investment bank? Because it's a really interesting place where you get stories every 2 or 3 years about how many bankers commit suicide and how stressful it is. And my nephew, who did a little bit of banking, would give me all these stories of working just ridiculous hours.
Yeah, I think it was literally harder than accounting because the market opened in different places. I had like 2 big screen computer where I had one set up at my house as well as work. So it's like I was always getting up, working. I would say for the most time, I was always more so living at a hotel. Because if I'm in the office, I never really go home. I was always in the hotel. I was always like expensing everything because I was just living from a hotel. But it made me though cranky. I went against some important people, basically. You know what I mean? Like I rubbed shoulders with some important people. I learned some lifelong lessons, because people in investment banking, they are workers. They're crazy because all they do is drink like crazy. And they sniff a little bit of white lady as well. But but they can go. They can
They
go.
also they also very, very smart too, actually.
Yeah, they can go and they're smart. But like I said, I was a conservative one because, like, growing up in a Christian home, and like, certain things my parents wouldn't deal with, and it embedded in me for a very long time. But
Right.
I worked there for a while. I was working on accounts of, like, people from 10 to $20 million. I was doing a lot of these things, but yeah, it was really good.
So small deals.
Yeah, around
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the thing is, like, I never worked before, so I was just, they just got me, and so I had to work up. You know what I mean? So it was about that. Eventually,
So as you think about your finance career, sort of give us some view as to, was it interesting? Was it challenging? Was it difficult?
It was more, for me, it was more challenging and difficult because I had a longer accounting experience, more because I did internship. I was working for my church sister, where she had a private accounting firm where she just asked me to come in a couple of days to fill in for her as needed. But banking was just like pretty much every man for themselves. I had to do a lot of research on my own. I had to spend longer hours because I didn't have the experience as yet. And asking people questions, you don't want to look bad. So I try to, like, research myself before I go and ask the team leader or anything like that. So it was much more stronger. To catch on to it was a little bit more harder than accounting. You know what I mean? You just have to. So yeah, it was a little bit more challenging for me, but eventually I got a hang of it. Now I still dabble around with the market while working. Yeah.
So this is a lesson learned for people who may be starting out their career and is in a similar field. So you mentioned trying to go do the research yourself and get the answer, which is good. Take initiative. But the best way to do this actually is you build relationships. You have people talk about building relationships with individuals who have been there, done that. Because what you don't want to do is go to your boss, because then they say you don't do it, you don't know what you're doing, you don't do your research, so it's held against you, especially when it comes to evaluation time. But if you know someone can point you in the right direction quickly, it saves you so much time. You look like a genius. So if you're out there, you're in the field, and you're doing this, that's the strategy to employ. Because I've seen most people go through the same process. It doesn't matter what timeline it is, and it's always the same story, right? A lot of the other people, though, they have content. We don't have those affiliations, those associations, and those affinity groups to engage a lot of times. Because as you said, we're not in the majority, far from it. We're sometimes drops in the bucket. So you don't have those engagements. You don't go to the bars and drink. You don't have the stories. I can't just call you up and say XYZ. So it's interesting as going forward for people who are listening. If you're just starting in finance, get to build those relationships, so then you can engage people to get the answer, because you could spin your wheel for a long time trying to get information.
Yeah. So the reason why, when I first got into accounting, at least at my internship level, Cranky, I was one of the individual who would keep going to people and asking questions. So I felt so bad, because what happens is, if I keep going to you, you have your own work to do. You're gonna take away from you finishing your project. So, and again, like you mentioned, I didn't have many people my skin color, but who put up with it. It was a lot of, like, younger white, folks and Indians or whatever. So then, as I progressed through accounting, before I want to ask any questions, I'll do the research, and it's absolutely if I can't find it. And that's something I do now in medicine as well. And I always tell my younger upcoming doctors, hey, try to do some research before you go and ask me or anybody who's above you, because it makes you look like you're not doing what you're doing, when in truth you are. But it's just, some people are like that,
And here's what people don't understand us, because people talk about nepotism and meritocracy and all that. If my dad is a doctor and I can call him up and he give me the answer in 2 seconds, I can look like a genius, right? Or he tell me where to go look for the information, look like a genius. While you and I may struggle, we're going to get there, but timeliness is also a factor in how you actually provide information to those who need that information or to the research. So it's really interesting how that works, actually. And what your experience and what you're just discussing is what a lot of people go through, actually. So what was the turning point? Why? So you're making money in investment bank. You're there from a $70,000 job. Money keeps going up, one direction, not the other direction. positive direction. So
Yeah, investment.
why
I was making cranky. I was making 100 when I end up before 100 in investment banking. I was making about 100.
that's what, 4 years out of school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was making,
Not surprising.
yeah.
Not surprising. And in fact, if you're in New York, you probably made more actually.
Yeah,
If you're in banking, because banking is a
I
very
was
lucrative
in
field.
Delaware. I was in Delaware. They have no taxes, so cost of living is a little bit cheaper.
Oh, okay. So you're not paying New York 100,000, probably 8-9% tax. If you make more, it's probably more than that. Interesting. So things are going well. You're making money. Life is good. You can rip flat back by the days in Miami. How challenging it was. You're not struggling for money now. Why even consider a career?
I paid my rent a whole year in advance. I was like, I don't even want to worry about that.
You can pay your rent in advance. Money's flowing, right? Better car, nice apartment, all the benefits that come with that. We won't talk about those.
I bought a BMW. That's great.
So I'm talking about life is good. See, people, you don't have to do certain things. You go do the school work, and 4 years out of college, you're living the life. So you're being successful. Why a career change?
Okay. So while in undergrad, I would say 90% of my friends were Nigerians. And out of those 90% of them, every one of them were pre-med, want to be a doctor. And I saw how they were enthusiastic about medicine. And I also saw their love. And when I asked them, why do you want to be a doctor? They gave me a passionate answer. First thing they always say, I want to help people. They want to help people, altruistic mindset. And like I mentioned to you, my upbringing in Jamaica triggered that. I wanted to do that. You know what I mean? I wanted to help people. Years prior to me talking to them, I watched my grandma took her last breath from lung cancer when I was in Jamaica. So what I did was I read Ben Carson's book, Gifted Hand. If anybody knows about Ben Carson, he's a pediatric neurosurgeon, the former president, whatever he did. So I sat and I read his book in one.
Head of HUD housing division, under Trump. But go ahead,
I sat and I read his book in one weekend, and his upbringing was similar to mine in a sense that, not the fact that like his mom had him at 16. My mom didn't have me at 16, and his mom was somewhat like not really a prostitute, but she had to sell herself because her dad left the home. But everything else about him, how he's like, he has to struggle, he had to put himself through everything. I was like, man. So I set off. At the time when this triggered, I was a junior in college. I was like, I need to finish my education. I can't just go back and do biology degree and everything like that. So what I did was I started taking, because I ended up finishing my accounting and finance degree a semester early because I took summer school.
Okay.
So what I did was the last semester I load up on all the physics, the biochemistry, the biology. I load up on all those classes, biochem, organic chemistry, so that I can able to get a biology degree and as well as end up applying for medicine. It didn't finish there over. I was doing it while I was working. So while I was working, I worked 9 to 5. After work, I'll go down to the school because I was still working in Pennsylvania in Center City, but Temple was like maybe a couple miles down the street. So after work, after 5 o'clock, I go there and take the biology lab. And I was taking night classes until I reached the equivalent of all the class I need to apply to medical school, which is what I did.
Wow, that's interesting. So that means you were working, making good money, decided to still pursue another discipline.
Yeah, that's
what which takes a lot actually. Because where did you get free time from?
That's what I was trying to say. That's why I said I never had plans to where I wanted to. I knew I wasn't going to be in finance for a long time because I knew I was like I wanted to be a doctor because of the prestige. One, the prestige of obviously, and two, I really wanted to help people. So after the time I got was mostly like I'll get home from work and I'll take class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Those other days I'll probably like go to gym and playing soccer those days. So that was kind of my schedule, and or I was working out. But I would say though I had a lot of help. I had friends who were taking regular classes who would sometimes give me the homework and stuff. I'm not gonna pretend like I was full-fledged. I was working full-time. You know what I mean? Who would give me the homework and I would just change it up a little bit and turn it in. Just got them homies.
So was there any correlation or relationship between the two disciplines?
I would say no. I struggled early on. Because I had to change my mindset, my thinking, because I had to, so in accounting and finance, it's formula. Formula fits everything. You plug everything in Excel. In business, you have to think. In medicine, you have to think differently. You have to think about how this molecule work, or how me giving you a drug can affect you based on what other comorbidities you have. So I struggle to know that. You know what I mean? And then you can't just memorize. You have to understand it on a deeper level. Versus when I did my CP or anything like that, I just memorized the formula. I just memorized everything. So I struggled early on. I was one of those late bloomers per se, where everybody knew their stuff. So like I said, I'm going to class and I'm struggling organic chemistry because there's no numbers in organic chemistry. It's just like a stick, like drawing a stick. There's nothing in biology. You just have to understand. So I struggled early on. I had to go to a lot of office hours. I was like, and until I finally got it. And then I was just like, I was ending up tutoring people because I ended up getting it.
Oh, interesting. Because I would think that these disciplines are so different, actually, as you're alluding to, right? Being in finance and doing medicine. And also, you're a little bit of an older student, I would think, transitioning from working. So that's always takes some, yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, it takes some adapting, right? To be with younger students in that environment. You're probably much more focused because you know what you want. You're not struggling about where you're trying to go, but it also must be very, very challenging.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, prior to be honest with you, Cranky, prior to me even going into medicine, I was told that I was never going to make it by one of the advisors. So like, don't even try to make it. Your grade is not good enough. And to be honest, a 3.6 applying to medical school is not a lot, but everywhere else that's high. That's, you know what I mean?
Wait, 3.6 is not a lot for medical school?
That's average. Yes, that's average.
Where we have all geniuses?
Yeah, all the students in medical school are 4.0. Yeah, it's not. It's like in my medical class, you have people from Harvard, Columbia, Duke, all that stuff. Yes, they were all from my medical school, so 3.6 is not really considered a big GPA. That's like, it's not. So the lady, I remember her name was Miss Perez. She was like, when I went and talked to her and she saw my grades, because I didn't do so well the first attempt in terms of like the biology 101. Because the way how it is, you have to take biology 101 to go to biology 102, physics 101, all that stuff. And I did well in physics. Physics is all formula. If you understand the formula, limits, derivatives, and all, it's easy. But if those other grades adds into your what we call a science GPA. You have an overall GPA, science GPA. So my overall GPA was 3.65. My science GPA was lower.
Right.
So that's what they look at when you're applying to medical school.
Okay. So you took all these courses, but you also were working into the courses, right?
Yeah, yes. Which is also what helped me when I did my interviews as well. They wanted people who was in diverse field. That's what helped me as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was told I should try something else. I'm never gonna make it. And to be honest with you, I was kind of like, I was motivated because, like I said, coming from the background I came from, where I saw people getting shot in front of me, killed in front of me, I was like, nah, I don't care what she said.
So, how was medical school?
So I went to Howard in DC. Howard is the Mecca, like really the Mecca. Met a lot of great people. A lot of Jamaicans are at Howard. A lot. I would say half of the hospital, all Jamaicans, doctors who was in Jamaica who left because they said they wasn't getting paid, and all people who went to UWI and doing residency at Howard. So I think coming from Philadelphia to there, I didn't miss Philadelphia in the sense of the Jamaican culture was there. And then you have the Africans that was there as well. And then the Africans that was really there also. In the DMV area, in the Maryland area, so it was like that. So that's what I actually got more into my African, my Nigerian side when I was in DC.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Yes, because my medical class, Frankie, I would say 80% were all Nigerians.
So not Black Americans or Caribbean, Nigerians.
No.
Wow.
No. There was few Black Americans, but because my medical class was 120 students total. And I would say there was 5 Jamaicans in my class. We had a little Caribbean group who would do potlucks, and then the others was a Nigerian group, and then you have like 2 Haitians and about 5 Americans. That was about it.
And the rest were Nigerians. So
Nigerian.
Wow.
Yeah, there's an article that came out that says how to graduate the most Black doctors and the most Nigerians in the world, in all of America.
So I guess just by affinity and affiliation, Nigerians probably realize that it's a good school. Not only that, but that they're going to be accepted, and they're going to be able to be themselves, I would assume, and also it was a supportive environment. So they probably gravitate towards that, I would think.
Well, Howard is the longest serving HBCU. They're the only HBCU that actually have their own hospital. You know,
Okay.
So it's easier to train there versus when you go to other other hospitals, you can get treated badly versus a Howard, because Howard Hospital is a level 1 trauma center, meaning that it could treat anything, gunshot wound, anything. You know what I mean? So only thing in Howard, we had to train somewhere else for pediatric rotation, which I didn't care for I didn't want to be a pediatrician.
So how long was medical school?
Medical school is 4 years.
So it's almost like doing undergrad again, except probably more challenging environment.
I've been in school half my life, Cranky.
So how was medical school? Did you find it difficult?
No. In fact, so because I was out of school for a while before I got to medical school, I would offer a program where it's like a bridge program in the sense that like you come in 6 weeks before the regular semester start, which is in August. I had to go in since May and basically say I had to pass that to prove that I'm able to get in. I'm able to survive because I've been out for so long. They call it non-traditional route. So I had to go there and I had to take all the biochemistry class and everything all over again and pass it, which is what I did. So then I got matriculated in. So, you know, it was one of those things. So come first semester of medical school was easy. I got a scholarship in medical school, Cranky, the first 2 years. I got a scholarship, academic scholarship.
Well, you get it from what?
So you didn't. I got it from, if you do the first year, if you're top of your class, they do it by quintile.
Okay.
First 2, you know, so I was top of my, I was in the first quintile. I was number 10. So out of all the 120 students, and I end up getting a scholarship. Yeah. So I got donor scholarship, academic scholarship because of my grades, and I got scholarship from the school itself because me being in the quintile, the top 10.
So you didn't have the student loan burden, I assume, that other people had.
I still did. Because so you have clinical years. So in medical school, you have the first 2 years are book. The third and fourth year is clinical years where you're in the hospital working as a doctor.
Okay.
So those, yeah. So I got the first 2 years, I got the scholarship. And I still had scholarship from undergrad. I paid off some while I was working and some of them.
So how do you decide what do you specialize in? How do you decide your specialization?
So when I got in, like I mentioned, because Ben Carson was the one who, you know,
okay.
I wanted to do neurosurgery. In fact, fun fact, I'll send it to you. I had the highest grade in neurology. There's we get an exam every 10 days in med school, and each exam
every 10 days.
Yes, and each exam builds on itself. You get an exam on each system. So you get an exam on cardiology, pediatrician. You get an exam on everything. You know what I mean? So there's 110 questions every exam, and the 10 is basically the previous exam to make sure keep your mind fresh. So on neurology, I got one question wrong. I got the highest grade out of everything, and they shout me out in class. You know what I mean? I will never forget that. That was
you got your flowers. You got your flowers.
Yeah, I only got one question wrong, neurology. That's because I wanted to do neuro, so that was my thing. I wanted to impress. So I got the highest grade out of all 120 students.
Awesome.
I got one question wrong, and I knew the question I get wrong until this day. It was a stroke question.
See, people, you don't forget these things. When somebody said they forget their GPA, there's a reason they forget their GPA. They didn't like their GPA. That's why they forgot it. Okay, if you remember that one question and you're still recalling it, and it precludes you from being perfect, then yeah, you're gonna recall it.
Yeah, I played at Temple with this guy. He plays Cunningham. He plays he plays. I play soccer with Cunningham. He plays, I think, for Onic Garden right now at Howard. He went to Howard. He was a captain. I play with him. I play with a couple other people I met. I met a couple lawyers who was at Howard. So at Howard, we have students. So each profession, because the way how Howard is set, you have the undergrad, they call it up the hill, and they try to separate the graduate schools for the noise and the party. We have our own library, everything. So up the hill is the undergrad, down the hill is the graduate school. So like PT, OT, medicine, dentistry, we all share the same building. So and a law school. So we had these meetings with the law school, the lawyers. So I met a lot of Jamaicans who were actually in going through law school. Then I believe Bro God came and spoke there because I graduated medical school in 2021. I was a COVID, so I'm 5 years out of the game. I'm fresh. I'm a fresh doctor. So I graduated 2020. Right. So Bro God came and spoke there. I was at the thing when he came and spoke. If anybody in the chat remember that, and I met
maybe that's how he got his doctorate. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I met a lot of people. I met quite a few of the other guys who went to dentistry there. They had a lot of Jamaicans there. I met undergrad who came from Jamaica to study there. We're doing engineer. And like I said, I met Cunningham. We were playing soccer together all the time. And then, yeah, we played together. So it was really good. I really like Howard. In fact, when I finish here in Florida, my contract finished. I'm leaving. I'm going back up that direction. I'm going to get a contract up there.
Oh, so you leave down south and go back up east?
Yeah, I don't like Florida. We can talk about that offline. But yeah,
okay, because I know that Florida is warm and nice, and East Coast where I am is cold as you know what.
You know what? Once I don't consider myself a Floridian in a sense because once I left high school, I left. I went to Howard. I'm not sure if I told you. I did a year in Stanford as well because I wanted to do surgery. Like I said, I did a year in Stanford and Bay Area, Stanford. Yeah.
Okay. But so if you go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
But I switched from surgery. But we as we get along, we kind of explain.
So how's the day in the life of the doctor compare to the day in the life of a financial analyst or an investment banker or an accountant?
We don't have scheduled lunch break. We don't have a scheduled time. There's no 9 to 5. I'm clocking out and leave. It doesn't happen like that. I went to work this morning at 5:30 a.m. and I got back home at 6. That's what 13. And I didn't. In fact, I didn't even get to drink water because I am constantly up and down. Because what happened is, when you're a doctor, you're not only a doctor, but you're like a mentor in a sense. Because I have to call the patient, I have to call the family, I have to make sure they understand. You know, it's something like that. And here in Florida, we have some people that we call snowbirds, meaning that because up north it gets cold, they come to Florida. So what I have to deal with, their doctor there. I need to know. Some of them don't even know what they have. So here in Florida, we have one system where if you get any medication in Florida, I can see what medication, when you fill it, who wrote the prescription. It doesn't happen up there. So I'll end up giving you medication that you're taking there, and then something happens. So stuff like that. Like for instance, what held me up at work today is because one of my patients that I got consulted on, he has laryngeal which is carcinoma of the mouth and all that stuff. And he ended up having like ejection fraction of 35, meaning his heart is not pumping. He essentially needs a life vest. So I had to end up calling his physician back he's from New Hampshire, stuff like that. So that's it. So I'm constantly working, and then I'm on call every 3 days, meaning that like I'm here with you right now. They can call me and say, come in the hospital or something is going on.
So what are some of the most rewarding and opposite most challenging aspects of being a cardiologist?
Rewarding about just being a doctor in general is, like I said, you rub shoulders against some big people. I've gotten free on airlines. I've gotten upgrade just because they know that. I've met some most important people.
So you say you get specialized treatment for being a doctor?
Yeah, I have no doubt. I get respect. Okay. It's very respectful because it's a noble profession, right? It's noble. It's very difficult to get in. So I get respect. But rewarding for me though the most is when I see a patient say, "Man, doc, thank you. You saved my life." That's all I want to hear. You know how they say love language? You know that all these women have their weird love language, gift giving and all that stuff. Word of affirmation is mine. I don't want no gifts. I don't want just word of affirmation is mine. So basically, I just like the fact that I remember the other day a lady came and said to me, "Is like, man, nobody ever explained this to me." Because when I explain something to Cranky, I try to explain to a kindergarten to understand. Like, say for instance, somebody who has heart failure, right? It's a pump issue. Imagine you're washing a water hose, right, Cranky? And you squeeze the water hose. What's gonna happen? No blood is gonna go forward. Everything's gonna back up, right? You're gonna have heart failure. You're gonna have heart failure. That's the way people get the shortness of breath and everything like that, because all the water is backing up into the lungs. When you breathe, the lungs cannot expand, so you end up getting shortness of breath. So I kind of showed like, oh, that's why. And then you end up getting swollen feet and all that, you know. So I try to break it down. And she was like, man, nobody did that. I try to tell people, I don't want to put you on medication, Cranky, because all medication is a stopgap. You need you to understand and like change your life, change your lifestyle, eat different. So yeah, that's where it is.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that to you, but I have issues with doctors. We don't seem to get along really well. So I can't really talk about, apart from me engaging men doctors, always fighting, except when I worked at I wouldn't say which bank, a big investment bank, because when they came in, they treat you like a person, right? They used to come to, some of the best doctors come to our offices, and we didn't go to them, they came to us, and they sit down, as you're saying, they explain every small miniature to you. When I used to go to my doctor outside, he treated me like I have no sense, and I couldn't deal with that, so we struggled. So how do you balance the sort of emotional aspects of being in your role and the physical demands of working in medicine? How do you sort of balance those? Because I can imagine something you have to deliver bad news or in very challenging emotional situations.
Yeah, so the dark side of medicine people don't tell you about. So you work in ICU, which ICU is the most critical. So this is medicine now, not really cardiology, but I'll just tell you. So in medicine, you work in critical ICU. I just came off nights. We spoke about that. In the ICU, it's the most sick people. I think last week I was on nights. People were dying every day. You know what I mean? So I remember the first time I had to tell somebody that your mom is dying, there's nothing I can do. And he burst out crying. I cried because most of the time I look at a lot of these patients, they're my mom age, right? And I personally haven't accepted that death. I'm gonna die one day yet, Cranky. I haven't accepted that. So I haven't. I'm gonna be honest.
You're still young. At some point it will hit you.
I haven't accepted that. So what I do when I see people and I look at them, I'm like, damn, I'm gonna be like this one day. I hope my kids are, you know. So it's like it takes a toll on you. So what I do, so it's like I try to come home and unwind. I travel frequently. Like I said, I went to Colombia a couple months. Like as the time I can get, and I try to hang out with my friends from medical school. Like, you know, we have a group chat of us, about 7 of us, everybody in different professions. So we tell each other's story. Like I'm going to Philly this weekend to hang out with my friend. He's an orthopedic surgeon in Penn. You know, we go and hang out, spend some time, go to brunch, and then chat and see how life is, and then, you know, refresh and unwind. But it's very emotional, man. I've been racism is very high in medicine. I could tell you the story.
Let's go there, because we can talk about finance, medicine. Did you encounter that in both places?
Plenty of time. The first one I encountered was in this year. I had it before, but the first time I encountered was the first time somebody thought I was a janitor, because I don't like to wear my white coat, because I'm like, you know, I just don't like to wear my white coat. I have a badge already that has my name on it, you know. This guy thought I was a janitor, so I went into him. I introduced myself. Hey, you know, like, who are you? I mean, you know, are you this, that, that? I was like, you know, I laughed at that. But I think what hurts me the most was a couple months ago when I went to go see a patient, and most of the time when patients get certain disease, because cardiology is the number one killer in the world, Cranky. If you have diabetes, you most of the time you die from heart failure, diabetes, right? So this guy came in. I remember him asking me. He said to me, he was like, "Hey, damn, did you see the election?" I was like, man, that was a landslide. That's what the guy said to me. And he was like, "Who did you vote for?" And I was like, "I didn't watch it. I didn't see anything like that, right?" And then it was just awkward. So I was like, "That's one." Another time, a patient came in, and this man was having red blood per rectum, meaning that he's bleeding poop. So you know what I mean? And this man was like, I walk in the room, I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he was like, "No, don't rob me, don't rob me. Are you here to rob me?" I was like, "What?" Like,
He's gonna rob you? Gonna rob in the hospital?
Yeah. I'm like, what? I was like, "No, I'm your doctor. I'm here to help you. What's going on?" Like, you know what I mean? Because when you, so if you're a cardiologist, right, you can do what we call locums. You can go work at other things, because I'm board certified internal medicine, so I can go to different hospitals and work. So I can work not as a cardiologist, I can work as a regular internist, like a regular internist, right?
Oh, okay.
Yes, because I'm board certified there. So because I'm a cardiologist, yeah. So that's kind of how it is. So to get extra cash. So this time I was working as a cardiologist. I working as a regular
doctor needing extra cash. That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
No,
I mean, I thought you guys just get paid.
No, I have a lot of expenses, in a sense that I'm trying to be aggressive to pay off my loans.
Okay.
So he thought I was gonna rob him, and I was just so mad, cranky. I went out there and I told the other guy, I'm like, I don't want to see this guy. And I didn't see him. I left. The last one happened when I was at my cardiology clinic. I was filling in for another cardiologist because they went on vacation, my boss. And she was like, who are you? I don't want to see you. I don't want no nurse. I don't want this. I want to see my cardiologist. I want to see. I was like, I explained to you, and I put my badge up. I'm like, you see this? I went to school for this. And I was like, I went to school for this. What can I help you with? He was like, I don't care. Don't come in. I don't care. So then I was like, okay. So I aggressively asked him, what brought you in? This man has an ejection fraction of 40%, cranky, meaning that if he speaks too much to me, he will die. That's essentially what it means if ejection fraction is less than 50, right? So after I spoke to him, he was like, man, I apologize. I'm so used to seeing this. I'm so used to seeing that. So those are kind of things that happen to me, you know what I mean? And again, I'm the only black one in my spot, and I'm in Central Florida. Everybody who's from Florida would know that. I'm in Central. There's less than 2% of doctors in America that's black. Less than 2%. And out of that 2%, there's less than 1% that's male. There's more women doctors in this country, right? So it was kind of that aspect of it that really drive me crazy. So now I am looking to transition out of medicine as a side hustle. I want to do consulting. That's kind of like my next step. But again, but other than that, it's very rewarding.
Yeah. No, it's interesting you mentioned less than 2%. Because if you take out all the Nigerians and Jamaicans, do we have any doctors in this country? But that's another story. He told me so much Nigerians are in medicine.
Howard is full of. That's why I want to go back there. Howard is full of Jamaicans. Full.
Yeah. Now that's interesting, actually. And health is one of the probably the most important discipline, actually. Frankly, right? If you intend to survive. So the question is, why aren't we pursuing that discipline more as a people?
It's cranky. Honestly, if you become a doctor, you have to put instant gratification away. Cranky. I was studying 15 hours a day. Let me explain. You get an exam every week, right? You take 8-hour board exam. They test you up the wazoo. That's why with the whole DA nonsense, I don't know what that comes up. I have to pass the same board exam that everybody else passed in this country, whether you're black, white, purple, blue, yellow, right? You have to take exam up the wazoo. When you go into residency, you have to take exam. I had to take a board. Each of my exam is 400 questions long. My last board exam was 16 hours long. 16. So you have to take an exam.
So if that's the case, then why do we have this whole concept of DEI in medicine when everybody goes through the same exams you have to take to show that you're proficient in the discipline?
I think for me, I think it's a systemic way of holding us down and marginalizing people like myself. Because cranky, when I go into the exam, right, I have a camera in my left, my right, above me, everywhere. I can't even wear a hat. I can't even wear this. I have to give a fingerprint. If I go to the bathroom, I have to give a fingerprint, metal detector. It's like I'm going to the airport, metal detector, everything. They watch me, and the exam is timed. I can't get another minute. If you have glasses, they inspect your glasses. You can't do. And the exam is changed. Question. You could be taking an exam next to me, cranky. We don't even have the same answer.
Yeah. No, I have a mentee who is doing the engineering, one of the engineering exam, and we have some of the same discussion actually. So let's transition now to health, period, because a lot of us struggle with health. I said us. A lot of us struggle with health. Whether it's what we eat, what we do. So what are the key things people should do to maintain good heart health? Since you're a cardiologist, we'll focus on that. I know you're saying an internist too, so you can be broader in your perspective, actually.
So in general, cranky, the number one cause of killer, like I mentioned, in this whole entire world is cardiology, right? The one most important thing that can kill you your heart is smoking, right? And then you have the other things. So me and you,
what is it about smoking that makes it so dangerous?
Because smoking will increases your lipid, and if you get increase your lipid, it causes plaque and it build up. Like I use the example, we call it water hose. If you have a plaque, you ever heard of atherosclerosis?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so the plaque builds up on your. This is it. Blood goes through like this, and the plaque builds up. So what happens is if you smoke, increase your lipid and all that stuff, that causes plaque buildup, and then you can't get no blood. Remember, your blood is what brings around nutrient around your body, right?
So if it can't flow through your body, then you can't get the nutrients, so your body collapses, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Alcohol does all that stuff. Alcohol works as a diuretic. You need water in your body, right? But the most, like me and you, we exposed to that because of our diet. You know what I mean? Hypertension we caused by the high oil. So diet, exercise, always things. I always tell people you want to have a balanced meat, high in protein, low in carbs, and high in greens. Remember, carbs break down into fat break into sugar. That's the carb. That's how it works, right? So if you kind of watch that, you have, obviously, as we go, it's like, imagine, let's just look at this way. We have a sink, right, Cranky? And over time, you wash greasy plate. Now, the sink is going to get clogged up just because of the things that we're putting into it, right? So as we get older, we are going to have plaque issue. That's just given, right? But these things are sort of exacerbate the thing, like smoking and stuff like that. So I always tell my folks, stuff that can help them. Flax seeds, flax seeds is really good. That's actually good. It helps with your blood pressure and everything like that. So diet and exercise, and I would say 30 minutes a day of exercise. You know what I mean? High intensity running and stuff like that. 150 hours a week. Anywhere you want to split it.
What if you can't? What if you've had tons of knee surgery, like somebody like your host, and can't run? What do you do?
No, I mean you can walk because what happens? Okay. You just want to get your blood. You want to get your heart rate up. Walk. So I have a lot of patients like that who can't do anything. I always tell them, hey, listen, if you have a dog, go walk with your dog. You know what I mean? For 30 minutes a day. You know what I mean? Just get the heart rate flowing. Like me, I have an Apple Watch. So the Apple Watch gives me information of, my heart rate, my resting heart rate and stuff like that. So those things I recommend. But like I said, do
you have to work at a certain pace? Or is there a pace involved too?
If you can manage, like you said.
Okay.
Me, preferentially, I lift weights. I lift. I'm not really a runner. I do most of my running playing soccer because I'm not a treadmill runner. So I run so if I'm playing soccer for 1 hour, I'm burning like 1,000 calories because I'm running, and I do that like 3-4 times a week. That's when I'm not on a busy rotation, right? So that's kind of how I do it. So I think because I'm speaking to most of our watchers are African Americans and Black, we have, in Jamaica we call something called sugar, right? Sugar is where it's diabetes, aka diabetes.
Yep.
That's because
sugar.
We love our sweet. Listen, we love our rice and peas. We love our ketchup. Ketchup is nothing but sugar. So all that stuff actually end up damaging your heart, and then you end up dying. You know what I mean? So it's the education aspect that kills a lot of us, Cranky.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like I watched somebody the other day. They were making porridge. They put sugar and condensed milk. I'm like, what?
That's normal, by the way. That's not abnormal. That's normal. I mean, you need as much sweetener as possible.
So it's like that. And then this is important too. Water. This is actually very important. Again, drinking a lot of water actually helps. Flushes out your system. I try to educate. I try to talk to my mom a lot, my dad a lot. They get on top of them. They don't listen to me. Just for them to go to the doctor. The doctor's like, yo, the doctor told me the same thing. I was like, oh, now you can listen to them. My dad would be like, I asked too much question. I was like, listen, because in Florida or anywhere, it can be the healthcare proxy, meaning that like you can call the doctor and speak on the behalf of the patient. I told my dad, let me be a healthcare proxy and talk. He doesn't want to do that because I'm asking too much questions. But overall, I just think that, if you're active, that helps, but your diet is most important. Like I mentioned, I don't ever want to put my patients on any medication, Cranky. There's so much side effects to medication if you take medication, so many. You know what I mean?
Right.
People, like for instance, if you take metformin give you B12 deficiency. Metformin gives you like, diarrhea. I don't want to put you on metformin, but how can
if they're giving you a medicine to take and it has side effects, Shouldn't there be some kind of compensating thing you do to mitigate that side effect?
No, because everything we do in life, there's a side effect. There's a side effect for me eating too much. There's a side effect.
Right.
But you have the good outweigh the bad, right? It's either if you
Right.
don't take the medicine versus you don't take, you know, it depends on what you have, you die, right? So we always try to warn people of like the side effects, the severe side effects, or we'll say stop
Right.
taking it, or we try to change you, go and stuff. So no, there's no compensation. There's a compensation if we don't warn you, we don't tell you enough, we don't educate you enough. Yes, we call negligence. We get sued. Yeah, you know how much my malpractice insurance is?
How much is it?
Close to $100,000. And
the hospital pays, I assume.
Yeah, the hospital pays, but I have my personal. Just because, look, if I do something that gets sued, the hospital wants to only pay for a certain amount.
Oh, okay.
So, you know what I mean? So basically, it's kind of like causes. It's like surgeons has like, it depends of, surgeons has higher because they have a higher. But yes, but the compensation part, Cranky, again, anybody can get sued, Cranky. And if you sue me, once you take me, a jury or somebody gonna award you. So what I always tell you always just gotta be nice to your patient. There's always ways to get sued.
Yeah, I should have sued one of my doctor for one of my knee surgeries, but you know why I should have sued my doctor? Because when I went to the other doctor, you can tell somebody's face. They're like, "What the hell did this person do?" That's what you get from them. But he never went that far, right? He pulled himself back. He was going there and he pulled himself back. I was not smart enough then to figure out that I probably should have just followed out. But anyway, what are the most
Cranky, listen to you a couple of times. You seem like a difficult patient, man.
I am. Because if a patient done their research, like you truly do, because before I go to the doctor, I'm gonna research what's wrong with me. And I have an idea I think I was wrong with me. So when you're talking to me, I wouldn't say I'm informed, but you can't tell me something that's left field because I'm gonna be like, you know what? I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you.
I've had those patients. It's very difficult. Usually what I say is like, let me look into it more, do some research and get back to you, because you don't want to lose their trust in your patient. It becomes very difficult. That's when they end up changing and leaving and not trusting you. It's very difficult.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you an example. when I had my wrist surgery, I had like 10 surgeries anyway. I get my wrist surgery. I went to the doctor and he wasn't, you're a good doctor, you want that assurance and that smile. And he's not about his race, but he was Asian. Them serious people not smiling. But I think he did a brilliant job because I could tell, maybe I'm comparing all the knee surgery I have to my wrist surgery. But when I went back to see him, he's not the most affable, engaging person and also not on time. So I'm there waiting for an hour to do post-surgery assessment. I'm like, forget you. I'm done. I'm out of here. I left. I didn't go back to see him. I'm like, I'm going to take the risk. I don't want you to treat me as if I'm not important when I have to treat you as important. I want to give respect is due. You should get your respect. You made your sacrifices. You did well. You're serving me and help's the most important thing. But if I don't get the respect, if I'm going to sit down for an hour while you have me waiting, told me I have to be there and I have work to go do, not working. So yeah, I'm not the easiest patient. I'll admit that. But I'm not trying to be difficult because it's my health. I don't want you to say when you're operating table, you know what? I'm going to just put something on him. That's what I think. I'm going to just give him a little nudge here because he deserved it. I try not to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do agree with you. I've had several difficult patients. And the way I try to do is try to meet them halfway and I usually say, hey, what do you know about this disease? What do you understand about this disease? What do you understand about this medication? If they try to explain to me and I said, okay, yes, you're correct, or I'll say, okay, this can be done another way. You know what I mean? So, or if I don't know this, I've had patients who say, hey, doc, I saw this online, what do you think about me trying it? I said, you know what? I will do some more research and then come back and let you know when you follow up. Because there's a lot of weeds and bushes that you can actually use that help. Examples, flaxseed, like I said, flaxseed help with, So I didn't know about that initially until I did some research. I was like, oh, you can do that. You know what I mean? So whenever my patient asks about it, I didn't do that yet.
So what are the biggest lifestyle mistakes you see patients make when it comes to heart? I'm going to be Jamaican and say art health.
I think one of the biggest mistakes I've seen a lot of people is just not listening to your doctor and not being informed, basically. So I have an aunt, right? She recently migrated here from Jamaica, and she said I was talking to her yesterday, and I was like, Auntie, what? She has diabetes. I said, Auntie, what are you doing this? She was like, you know what? A doctor in Jamaica didn't tell me anything. They just tell me go do this, go do that. And I was like, and because they don't explain that to them, they're not informed. They don't have the education. They end up not eating properly. She was like, say I drink a lot of Coke. I'm like, you have diabetes. You can't be drinking Coke with diabetes. She was like, the doctor didn't tell me that. He just said to take the pill. I was like, stuff like that. And it's like not getting the education that they need. That's kind of the big. Because think about it, Cranky. Doctors are the only people that listen. Not even your girlfriend would tell you the secret. A girl would tell your doctor the secret because we don't know each other, and I cannot tell you something about CC. If CC tell me, I'll get sued for that. It's called patient confidentiality.
Right.
Most patients are honest to the doctor. The other day I went to go talk to a patient, and she was lying to me that she didn't smoke anymore. You know what the husband did? The husband come out the door and said, Doc, she lying to you. She still smoke. Because that's what I'm saying. It's like, and because I told her, I said, listen, stop smoking, because she keep coming in the hospital for the same thing over and over, heart failure. I said, listen, I'm giving you all these best medications, but your heart is not improving. I'm like, are you taking the medication the right way? Prescribe it. I said, explain to me how I explained to you to take it. And she explained to me right. The husband walk outside and said, Doc, she lying to you. She's still smoking. And guess what? I said, how she get the cigarette? She don't work. The husband said, I buy it to her because it's going to be all hell break loose in the house if I don't do it. I said, you're the issue. So so
here's the question for you, though. Aren't there two medical problems? Isn't there a cigarette addiction coupled with the heart problem? Because the two are not mutually exclusive. You don't fix the cigarette, she's going to die eventually.
Well, have you ever heard of it's common denominator, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, the smoke can exacerbate the issue.
Yeah.
It's worse, right? So if you do you know that if you have decreased ejection fraction, and if you take a medication workout increase, say for instance, you come to see me and ejection fraction is 35, it can go up to 50 if you actually take the medication and work out. It can increase. That means your heart pumping better.
Right. Yeah.
So, and which is mean working out, taking medication, eating properly, and stop smoking. So so the smoke can exacerbate the issue. And so.
Are there any early warning signs of heart disease that people should often overlook? I'm gonna give you an example. So my dad died at 40 from a heart attack, right? Sitting down, healthy, no overweight, in the room with my brother, watching TV, keel over.
Yeah.
No early signs. So are there early signs that would give some indication that you may not necessarily pick up on?
So what you explained to me, that's a common cause. We call it arrhythmia. We call it cardiogenic arrhythmia, where somebody will just die. Versus you have syncope and all that stuff. So that's probably like from arrhythmia. But so you do, like I said, you have the genetic component for heart failure, right? So you remember, what's his name? The guy that played for Manchester United. The one that played for Manchester United. He has a pacemaker. He has a pacemaker. He fell out on the field. He fell out on the field.
That wasn't Fletcher, was it? I'm trying to remember.
No.
No, it wasn't Fletcher. It was Manu?
The midfielder. He's Danish. I forgot his name.
Oh yeah. And it was in the Euro. Ericsson.
Yes, Ericsson. So he likely has a more, so maybe it's like a congenital issue type thing. Usually, what that means is like, so in your heart, Cranky, you have what we call your heart is a muscle, right? So if you know that, like, people who work out a lot, like say for instance bodybuilders end up dying from heart attack because that muscle gets so big that it squeezes up under the ventricle. There's no blood flowing. So you have a congenital disease where you're actually born with bowing off. So like when blood flow, it opens over like this. Your leaflet open like this, and the blood goes like this. So you have a congenital disease where it bows in. It's called HOCM. It bows in and blocks the blood from leaving. That's literally people be working out, and then because when you're working out, you need more blood flow. Your heart is working more, and then the blood not going out, you drop dead and die. That's what LeBron James' son has.
So what happens when somebody has a slow heartbeat, but it's not because they're athletic? What drives that?
So we call that bradycardia. That can be one because of age, right? Because as I age, because your heart beat, we call firing. So like it's called firing. It's like
No, if you've had it all your life, so whenever you go to the doctor, they're like, "Why you don't have a pulse?" Or they're saying, "Do you work out?" The
you
first
can't
thing,
be living if you don't have a pulse, cranky. That's not a pulse.
no, I'm telling you, they keep saying
No, but
you don't have a pulse, or they're saying, "Do you work out?" Because we're trying to test. You know, they test you with the archaic way of putting their hands on here. Yeah.
So me, I have resting my resting heart rate is less than 50. I mean, sorry, less than 60. Normally,
Yeah, I'm telling. That's what I'm telling you. Yes, less than 60. They struggle.
There are people who survive with that's their baseline, meaning that they survive in that area, and there's nothing wrong with you. They are like me. I'm athletic, so my resting heart rate is like 55. Most people who's not athletic, we're worried about that because you can just like fall out and die, right? But athletes have a resting heart because that means your heart health is really good. So you know what I mean. So if that's your baseline and you've been fine, that's totally fine. But most people, that's why we put pacemaker in them because we set the pacemaker to stay at around a number, so you won't fall out and die. But,
so is it bad if you're too low or too high? Is that how it works?
Yes,
you have to be in a certain range.
Yes. So it's a range from 60 to 100. Over 100, we call that tachycardia. It means your heart is beating too fast. Less than 60, we call it bradycardia. It's bleeding so slow. So the heart is the heart out of all the systems in the body will kill you instantly. You literally have like 10 to 20 seconds to live. You ever see somebody just drop down and die? That's from the heart.
Yeah, I know somebody that happened to the other day actually.
That will kill you instantly because your heart is literally an electrical system. That's why we shock you. That's why we shock you to come back when you can't. You know what I mean? That's why we press on you to get your heart back in rhythm. Literally. You know what I mean? So it's one of those situations where you just like it will just kill you right away.
So what's your perspective on the role of genetics versus lifestyle in heart disease?
Genetics is just genetics. You know, there's nothing really you can do about it. But lifestyle, most heart diseases from lifestyle versus genetics, right? Lifestyle is mostly lifestyle. Because like I said, a lot of things, like if you have kidney disease, you die from heart failure. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned, this heart failure kills you in many ways. The only reason there's only a few years that heart disease came over. It was COVID. COVID was what took over heart disease. I think it might be back. Heart disease might be back now, but genetics is just genetics. It's just like cancer, right? Cranky. If you're in a family, if you have a family history of cancer, right? We have something called autosomal dominant. That means, cranky, if you're my dad and you have the autosomal dominant gene, I'm guaranteed to get it. That's genetic. Right? So if you have colon cancer and you're my dad and it's I'm gonna get it, right? That's an example, right? So that's the genetic aspect of it. No matter what, I get it. So me personally, so if I'm gonna marry a girl, I'm gonna make sure she doesn't have sickle cell. So I need to make sure she's not a trait. If she does, I don't want you. Like that, the genetic aspect, I'm trying to weed that out. Now the lifestyle aspect now is up to me and you. No drinking, no smoking, working out. You know what I mean? Watch my diet, exercise. That's it. But majority of cardiovascular diseases or lifestyle.
Right. So some people would just say, look, I'm going to die anyway, right? Because if I get rid of all my so-called vices, and to me, processed food is a vice. Not sure if you heard me earlier saying February is non-processed food month for me, is a vice. Why should I give my vices to live when I'm going to die anyway? What would your thoughts be on that? It's a philosophical discussion, actually.
So my cousin Jamaican, she have diabetes, and she recently came in and hang out with me, and she said, "Boy, you're boring me." Like literally, she's like, she looked at my fridge. She's like, "Yo, there's nothing in your fridge." She was like, "No juice, no nothing." And you know, cranky, she has, like I said, diabetes, and she eat anything, and then she take her medication, which decreases her. You know, she take her metformin, which obviously would decrease her thing. So I said, cousin, you're cheating. Because she was like, I'm gonna die anyway, just like you said. I was like, she was like, everybody gonna die, so let me enjoy myself. I'm like, listen, I don't believe in that. I'm a believer of let me control what I can control, and God do the rest. You have kids, you know what I mean? People are depending on you. You have a family who love you. Why not try to, extend that time with us, unless God take you when it's ready. You know what I mean? If you believe in God. So I don't believe in that aspect of it. I hate when people say that. You know what I mean? Right. I just hate that. You know what I mean? So I try to tell her. Cranky. I give free medical advice. If my friend call me and say, hey, I want this medication, I give it. I am that type of person because that's why I went to medicine. I went to medicine to help. My uncle,
Right.
my cousin's in KPH. He's a general surgeon in KPH, Jamaica right now. I try to go to Jamaica to work and the government, whatever. And
the government says no because
Yeah. If anybody work in KPH here, his name is Dr. Price. He's my cousin. He works at KPH. He's a general surgeon there. And it's just like I don't care about money, Frankie. I'm gonna be okay, right? I don't really care about money. I just want to help people. Like I said, me personally, my love language is affirmation. Hey doc, I feel good. Hey doc, you explain this to me. That puts smiles on my face. I work every day, Cranky, 12 to 13 hours. I'm going to work at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm not going to be off again until 6 o'clock. But I don't complain. Last week, I worked 90 hours in 1 week. You know what I mean? But those 90 hours, I'm spent doing something I love. I'm enjoying. People are doing it. You know what I mean? People are saying, hey, I'm making a difference in people's lives. That's the altruistic side of medicine that I like. Not a lot of people go into medicine for that. I have co-workers who just go in medicine because they want to show off. Hey, I'm a doctor. I have homeboys. A couple of my Nigerian homeboys, 6'4", big boy, get a bunch of girls. Because listen, Cranky, honestly,
it's a girl profession, girl attractive profession.
All the nurses are trying to talk. I'm like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like the nurses are trying to, because you know how women are. They like power. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like that. And you do get that. That's one thing about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. We touched upon this earlier, but I want to touch upon it again because you mentioned 2% of the doctors are Black in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the number? Yes. How do we change that dynamics? Because I would admit, and this is maybe bad on my part, I look for Black doctors. I do research. When I'm going to go to a doctor, in some time when I find a Black doctor, whatever is wrong with me, and I struggle to find one where I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to go to this person. I struggle to find. Because when I look at ratings too, I look at a lot of different factors before I come to you. But my first preference, which may be bad, is it a Black person? Because I always feel this person is going to be more considerate of me, whether that's true or not. Because we have some Clarence Thomas out there, or some whoever was supporting Trump. I always think that person is going to be more appreciative of my needs, my concerns. They want to engage me better. They want to protect me when they come to administer some medical service to me. But I can't find them. So how do we change that dynamics? Because it's an imperative.
So good question, Cranky. And I thought about that as well. Just to reiterate, when I do get Black patient, Cranky, I spend extra time with them than when I do white. I'm saying this now, this is bad. But I feel more comfortable with them. I look at them as my brother, my sister, my friend. I get comfortable. I said, listen, I remember this one lady, I was like, you could have been my mom. I was like, what are you doing? She's not taking her medication, she's eating fried food. I was like, ma'am, stop. I took her phone and I put every day when to take her medication in her phone because I like that. But to answer your question, Cranky, this is what the DEIA, whatever that thing is kind of for, because it just leaves spots for people like me and you instead of overrun. Because Cranky, I use the example of me, right? I couldn't afford books. I couldn't do anything like that. You know what I mean? I had to know people who help me to get stuff. For Black people who want the opportunity, who hungry and smart enough that can go there, but doesn't have the opportunity, the DEI gives you that, like schools like Howard, because what they do is they offer scholarship to people like myself who can afford it. So that aspect of it, we need more help because, there's something called test taking. You need to learn how to take tests to pass some of these exams. You do, right? White people can afford to, brown and richer people can afford to spend to do that. Black people like me and you know how much it costs to take a prep class, Cranky? $5,000. To take my board prep class, that's how much it takes for the CPA too, $4,000. Guess what? You end up buying a book for $200 and study on your own. Sometimes it's not good enough for people like me and you who is not good test takers. So having someone who can say, this is how they generally write the exams. I struggled with that initially in medical school, how to take exams, but I knew my material. Right? But I didn't know
there's speed involved, right? There's speed, not only knowing the stuff, you gotta do it a certain amount of time, actually. You can't take forever.
Yes, that's one thing. Number two, these exams weed out people like me and you, mostly Black people, because again, not knowing how to take an exam, cannot afford it, and people not giving us an opportunity. So when you have the DEI that leaves just for people like me and you, say, hey, we just want a black person, and they're trying to take it away, then that's why we're going to stay in the 2%. And to be honest with you, they don't want to let us in the door. Cranky, think about it. If me and you is a homeboy, and you let me in the door, I'm going to bring my homeboy in. Then my homeboy going to bring his homeboy, and then we're going to saturate the building. It's like you're making a party in Jamaica. Your friends are begging you, yo, let me get a ticket. And then it's like an entourage. You bring everybody in, right? And then you saturate that. They don't want to do that. They don't want to give up.
Yeah, I don't think people get that, actually. So when people talk about affirmative action and DEI and they complain and they whine and they say it's discriminatory, and I would say to them, which is, there's a difference when you think about it, which is you have systematically denied people historically and over time and still do. How are they supposed to advance if they don't get an opportunity when you dominate? And the normal concept of affirmative action is, if you get a 10-yard start on me and we have the same speed, I will never catch up to you, ever, right? So I would think that, I've always said this, that, and this is going to sound really bad, but I think we got to be separate. That may sound strange to people. Look, economically and otherwise, people don't seem to realize how that works. But if I'm part of the large majority and not give me an opportunity, I got to carve out. Haitians do this, by the way. People don't realize that. They live in their own community, have their own system, their own economy, and it works for them. They may be part of the larger population. They may go out there, but they create. If I go to Queens, in certain neighborhoods in Queens, the stores are full with a certain people of certain demographics. They're supported by people of demographics. If I come to Brooklyn, where I live, the stores that I go to, we're not the ones behind the counter, but we're the ones purchasing. So the dollar we spend goes someplace else, doesn't stay in our community. People don't seem to get that concept.
But Cranky, the thing is, like, though, I often struggle with that in a sense. I think we were mismanaged and miseducated and misinformed growing up. It's a systemic thing for me, because growing up in Miami, if anybody here in Miami, every time I go buy something, they don't have it, the Cubans would say, go to Papi down there, go to Papi down there. They try to help each other, right? Versus, they say, I've watched other black people tear down other black people. That's number one. Number two, the example of the Asian that you use, Cranky, at my hospital, all the pulmonologists are from India. All the cardiologists are from India. How? Obviously, there's more, the population is bigger. But the point is, and guess what? They bring friends in. A couple of them, the doctors in the hospital, are related to each other. Son-in-law, daughter-in-law, right? They bring each other in. They bring each other.
The affiliation, it's not even nepotism per se. We want to support each other if we're a family. And yes, it's going to work to be nepotism sometimes, because the best people that get hired. And that's why the whole DEI thing also come in, which I tell people in the workplace a lot of times, which is, when people come in to be interviewed and there's some general characteristics that connect them, there's going to be much more of an association, right? If I come in and I can talk to you about being at Princeton and being at Yale and this club, we have some connectivity. I feel I'm going to engage with you better than somebody who's remote. People don't seem to get that affiliation. And that's why you need equalization program, I call them, things like DEI to level the playing field, but some people don't believe in that. So if you look back, and we've been on this discussion for over an hour and a half.
I mean,
if you look back,
so I'm very shy, and I don't like to tell people, because I don't want nobody to think I'm ostentatious. So I don't really talk like this. This is the first time I've actually got to sit down and tell my struggle. It was tough to get where I am. So having this conversation actually made me, realize that this is something that I probably should speak a lot more about my journey. And I really appreciate that you actually asked me to do that, but I wouldn't have done this at all. I think Management was the closest person who I spoke to similar about this, which blessings to him. You know what I mean? But I really do appreciate.
So here's a question for you: if we're struggling in that discipline, then do you think there's enough mentorship and support for Black medical students and professionals? And what can be done to improve this?
Enough is. I think there's enough there in a sense that, because in every hospital you go, Cranky, there's a Black doctor for sure. We're everywhere, right? Just like how you find Jamaicans in every corner, right? So I do think that's enough. The problem is, though, Cranky, a lot of us don't want to put away. It's tough to get there. Like I said, instant gratification. Cranky, there was times I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, study until 10, 11 o'clock at night for my board exam. How many people want to sit there and do that? Not everybody want to sit there and do that. I tell people all the time, cranky medicine is not about just smarts. It's 90% of medicine is mental and discipline, right? And that mental and discipline can help out as much as the smarts. And so even cranky, think about it. You are my mentor, and you say Sheldon, or you say Jermaine, or you say June. Hey, do this, and I don't do it. What's the point? You get, you just like, you don't want to do it anymore. I talk to people a lot of time. I'm like, hey, this is my experience. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to experience that, but this is my experience. So what I often listen, I often talk to people cranky, and I take from them. It's like a piece of pie. You have 10%. I take it and then make my whole of what I like, right? So I like how you did this. I like how Cranky did this. I like how Sheldon did this. I like how CC did this. I'm gonna put it together and make my whole pie, and then make it work for me. So yeah, mentor are there. You know what I mean? There's some people are like, there are people who have mentorship monthly program that I go on just to listen to. People who's applying to medicine. People who are in medicine applying to residency, because residency is very difficult to get in. Yeah.
Okay. So looking back, how do you feel about your decision to switch careers? Would you do it the same way again or differently?
I'll do it differently. I'll go earlier than where I am. I would have been further now than just 5 years into my career. I would have been further now. But I think what I learned from corporate America to come up, the work-life balance and the ethic and everything like that helped. But I would never. I think medicine is for me. I don't think I would change. I think medicine is for me. I enjoy the hard days are good by just hearing you help me out by one patient. So I'll see 10 patients who are like very difficult, but that one patient will make me feel good.
So what advice would you give someone who's considering a major change in career, especially if they want to pursue a field as demanding as medicine?
Do research, because I didn't do that. I just said, I just listened to what my friend said, and I said I wanted to do, and I read the book, and I was like, I just want to be a doctor. I didn't do any type of research. I didn't know I needed to take all these exams. I didn't know I needed to do all these board exams, everything like that. So I was struggling off that rip. I didn't much know I need to do 2 government board exams in medical school and all that stuff. I just thought I'd just go there, sit down and pass, until one day they were like, hey, you got to take these exams. You know what I mean? And then that's kind of what it is. Number 2, lean on your friends and family. That's important, because I'm very standoffish in terms of, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm trying to be better in terms of communicating with my family and all that stuff. They help you, because like I said, just some days, you can tell them and let them understand what's going on, and they can, let you feel comfortable. So family is important. Support system is important in medicine. Medicine has a high suicide rate, high divorce rate.
Yes, I read about that the other day, actually. I read about the suicide rate the other day. Keep going.
Yeah, so high suicide rate. Also has a high divorce rate. So family is very helpful. And find a hobby outside of medicine. Medicine should never be your only life. Like me, my hobby is I come on the stream with you guys, interact with everybody. I go to the gym, because it takes look, I came on now at 7 o'clock. I got to go back to work at 5 a.m. That's literally what, 6 hours, whatever, right?
Yeah.
6 hours. So it's like that entails my day. Sometimes I work 15 straight days, no day off, right? 7 straight days, no day off, because that's just how the cookie crumbles. You have to find something outside of medicine, and you will burn out easily, quickly. You know what I mean? And that's so hobby. And just know that you are always replaceable medicine. It's a conveyor belt. You're replaceable. It's all about the bottom line. So just try to, that's where it is.
So I see CC in the chat says, thinking about going to law school. What's your suggestion? Before you said, I'm going to say this. CC, first of all, I thought you were a lawyer already. And second of all, why do that to the professors? But go ahead, you can answer.
CC, what's up, man? Well, I don't know much about law other than just communicating with my friends who are lawyers. But I do know that it's similar in terms of 4 years of law school. Like
3 years of law school, yeah.
I thought it was 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Depends, because you have the JD.
It depends on what you go for, yeah. You may want to extend, yeah.
Yeah, so I know it's that much, but the workload and it's just like medicine. It's just you have to work because it's a profession. It's, you know what I mean. It's just like medicine. It's like very grueling. So yeah, I do think that it's something that you should do. They are very highly respectable. Lawyers are highly respectable. You know, if that's something that you're interested in, and you get paid just as, you know, for your work. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. And also, if you do accounting, if you do law, you could be a law accountant. You can do contract. The field is so wide. And that's also another thing. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. Yeah. Cranky, I think there was a few questions in the chat.
I'm trying to go back now and see what they are. I decided to go through my list first, which is, I think I had about 50 questions, but I narrowed it down. I like to prepare questions extensively, so I go through them. Yeah.
Cranky, you know, I've always told you, like, you know, we have a lot in common, like, you know, fella, you know, and I'm here to answer any question. I don't, you know, if I don't know it, I don't know it. You know what I mean? You know, and I'm always, you know, give advice as much as I can. So I don't have a problem answering any questions at all.
Yeah, let me go to the list. Says, will doctors, this must be football guru, Jesus. Will doctors ever extract themselves from the big drug pharmaceuticals?
Okay, so the guru, to answer that question, so in my clinic, right, Cranky? So say for instance, like, one of our best drugs is Farxiga for heart failure, right? So you have other you have other companies who give us like samples to try their drugs and all that stuff, right? We don't technically decide whether or not, you know what I mean, we can offer drugs, but obviously insurance have to prove it, right? And we're not supposed to technically align to any sort of, you know, drugs and stuff like that. That's actually illegal. So align to big pharma, that's never, you know, our job. We don't align to big pharma. Our job is to treat the patient and offer them the best medication based on their symptoms, their disease. But technically, we don't do that. There again, just like how any people marketing a product, they come and say, "Hey doc, let me give you these samples. Give it to your patient and let them try it out." And we ask the patient how it is. We do that. There's always new drugs on the market, and I mean, because R&D is always going on, Cranky. R&D goes on for 10, 20 years. You know about that, you know? If you're an accountant and you do the books, people have R&D on their books because you're always doing research.
Yeah. If you was to go back and provide one piece of advice or multiple advice for your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
Be more obedient.
Obedient?
Yeah.
You said you were a challenging kid.
Yeah, but be obedient, meaning that, like, I didn't always listen to people who were trying to say, "Hey, if you're done this way, you know what I mean, do it." I'll be like, "I don't care." I was like very ignorant, and I saw that. I picked a lot of that up growing up in Jamaica and around my dad. That's why I kind of isolate myself a little bit from the Jamaican side of things, because like I don't want to do that when I get kids be ignorant. Because I found myself was being ignorant towards my girlfriend and taking out all my frustration on her when she had nothing to do with when she was trying to support me. So I was just, you know, be more obedient and listen and take some more advice. Doesn't think that I know it all. That was younger me. Yeah.
Right. So I assume that's audio system now. I assume.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I am, and I'll gladly say this, I'm a feminist. I'll gladly say this. I'm a feminist. I believe in equality. I know it's not a Jamaican thing, you know, woman's supposed to cook and all that. No, I'll gladly say that. I had that mindset prior, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'll gladly say that, yeah.
You mentioned earlier about you had some thoughts about working in Jamaica, maybe to give back, actually.
Yeah.
Why is that a problem, not being able to do so? I think a lot of doctors go down and do things periodically.
So the issue is you can go with a group and all that stuff. I would want to actually work, you know, like probably take a year off and just, you know, go there and work and stuff like that. But granting me a license and all stuff, like it was challenging. So I kind of gave up.
Oh, so you have to get a license to work there.
Yeah, because there's malpractice everywhere.
Right.
It was, yeah. So it was kind of challenging. So it was kind of like that. So it was kind of like challenging for me. But my goal is to do that. Cranky, like I said, I love Jamaica, man. It's literally the capital of the world. Jamaica is spread across this whole country, this whole world, right? If I go somewhere, Cranky, I say I'm Jamaican, people like, yo, everybody just look at me like, oh, I met this today. I was met this one of my patients were talking, and there's I just forgot. There's now a lot of exchange program where there's Jamaican nurses will come up here and work. I don't know what it's called. The government, it's cheaper to pay them now than pay regular nurses. Same thing. A lot of my hospital has Asians too because it's cheaper to pay these nurses. So I met the lady. I was like, man, I don't really see a lot of black nurses around here. She's like, yeah, I'm Jamaican. She's like, yo, I told her I'm a Jamaican. And we just talking like, I talked to her for like 30 minutes and forgot I had to go see my patient, right? So it's like, I love the culture, right? Cranky, the culture is good. I want changes though. That's kind of the issue with me.
Right.
And that's why I went into medicine. The little I can do will help. No, listen, our food is amazing. Our people are smart. Cranky, some of the smartest people I see is a Jamaican. In Howard, Cranky, I would tell you this right now. Some of the doctors there are smarter than the educated, trained doctors in America, including myself, because they do everything from scratch. They experience everything. You listen, I can't even, to be honest with you, I hate taking blood pressure. I use a machine. They use the traditional way.
Right.
I don't even take blood pressure, to be honest with you. You know who take that? MAs does that. I don't do any of that stuff. And they can do that, like experience stuff. Like, so I want us to make some changes, I just think that like if we can get better, then we can be good. Like, we're very athletic, we're very strong, we're very smart. I really do. So I really does love Jamaica. I love black people in general. I think there's education that's we can gain.
Right.
But they just need to, we need to help us. And how we're gonna do that is probably revolution. Break down the doors.
Look, there's a lot to be said about all of these things, right? About fairness in life, about equity, about equality, about being humane. And not everybody thinks that way or operates that way, which is sort of sad because we're only here for a short period of time. And the older you get, the more you realize the time is short. So you wonder why people operate the way they do. What are any parting words that you have, actually?
Honestly, parting words. First, I just definitely want to. I really appreciate you giving this opportunity, giving me a platform to kind of educate. I'm not here to educate anyone. To be honest with you, I'm just here to tell my story and answer questions. That's one. Two, I just want people to understand that, like, I think we all has the capability when given the opportunity. But I also want to say that if we're given the opportunity, like for instance, example, I've had friends who got an opportunity to come to America and messed up by hanging around the wrong crowd, doing the wrong thing, and end up going back and suffering, right? I look at it from that standpoint, which I'm so appreciative of my parents because they came here. Cranky, my mom and my dad was working 2 jobs to help me. There was times I come home, I never saw my mom and dad because they're working night shift or day shift. But what they did for me, which I appreciate, there was always breakfast and dinner on the table for me. Before I go, until at this golden age of mine, my mom still called me, oh, did you eat dinner? And this is why I said I would do, and not only that, I get this from every most of the time when I'm around like my Jamaican family and Jamaican friends' family, their parents is just like that. And I think that I want all of us to be able to get the opportunity where we can help our family. Obviously, there's some terrible families out there, but I know for me, I didn't get where I am without help of many people, Cranky. I didn't, because I didn't have anything growing up. It was church people was helping me out. I learned how to play the drums, the bass, and guitar because I was going to church every day. I was playing around. My uncle toured with Shaggy. My uncle played the bass guitar with Shaggy right now. Dave Richards. It's right by that. Yeah. So it's like, so certain things like that. I was poor growing up, Cranky, but my parents didn't make me feel like I was poor. They did their best to give me everything they can. So now that I became a doctor, I told them, I'm like, listen, I want you, You know what I mean? I don't have it yet to where I can like, retire you, right? But I want them to understand to get that aspect. And I think we all have. There is absolutely knowledge in the Jamaica system. Obviously, we're majority Jamaican here. Like I mentioned earlier, most of the Jamaicans I've seen that actually work at my hospital, like when I say smart, cranky, even smarter than me, and they less years in the system. I have to ask them, but we just get opportunity, and when we do opportunity, we need to grab it and go. My mom always tell me, if police ever call her number, she's gonna say, "Officer, I don't know this boy. Lock him up." Literally. I run away. I stay away from that.
All right. Look, I do think the education system in Jamaica, even though it's challenged sometimes, does put out very, very good students, very, very good professionals who want to do well. My problem a lot of time with Jamaica is that, as you're alluding to, not everybody get an opportunity. If we give each person an opportunity, the same opportunity, we would produce so much more people in so much more of the disciplines. And my last point is around, we're very proud of people like yourselves who have made the sacrifice, because a lot of sacrifice to become a doctor. That's why, as you said before, alluded to, a lot of people don't want to go through that Russian roulette type situation. I wouldn't call it Russian roulette. It's like you're going through this tunnel and it's constant pressure. And you talk about the concept of suicide, not concept, but that suicidal, the discipline is, which is a discipline that's helping people.
I never thought.
No, but here's my point though. It's a contradiction, because the discipline is supposed to be helping people with their health and get better, and yet a lot of people feel that they have no way out, so they make the final decision, which is sort of sad and seem to be contrary to what the person is meant to do in the first place, right? Or what the profession they chose to do, they're taking their own lives, which is sort of strange. But I'll say this: your parents must be extremely proud of you. You talk about your background, you talk about your situation, and you have achieved what is almost people deem to be the ultimate, being a doctor. And you talk about your situation in terms of, financial challenges. So they must be extremely proud. And I know Jamaican parents, the first thing was say, "No, hey, my son a doctor." We know Jamaican parents.
Listen, I hate when they do that. I honestly hate when they do that, because whenever I go, there was like, "This is my wash belly," I'm like, yo, I don't like when they do that, but I understand, because you're accomplishing something that they wanted to accomplish. That it's like they're living vicariously through you, which I definitely understand.
Yeah, and they know, most people appreciate the sacrifice to be a doctor. It's not easy to go to school for half your life, as you said, right? It's not easy to go to school for half your life.
Listen, 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, that's eight, right? And then you have 3 years of residency. That's what, 11, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And then you do fellowship of another 5 years.
That's 16 years of your life. You might as well. So that's the reason why people are going to be proud to make that sacrifice, to it be involved in discipline the way you are. It's a significant accomplishment. So I appreciate you being here, and you should probably do more of these, actually, because it's good when people can get the information that somebody's been through the process. And maybe a kid out there who has thought about it, but then when they're told about how much time it takes, how much pressure it is, how much you have to do, they're like, but if you're saying it's worth it, twofold, which is, you didn't talk about the financial aspect, but it's worth it from giving back altruistic type way, but also worth it financially, because doctors in the US get paid well. Not everywhere doctor gets, because people in the NHS, for example, in England, they don't get paid well, a lot of them. Yeah, but people here get paid well.
I think here in the US, the pediatrician makes it the cheapest. I think about $200,000 or so.
Yeah.
But
doctors get paid well in the US. Period.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Cardiologist is like the highest paid next to surgeon. So, which is why I wanted.
I'm not sure you should have said that, but that's okay, because I'm sure someone watched this program saying, I need to go there, get some money off him. But cardiologists do really well. Surgeons in general and cardiologists do well.
Yeah. But I didn't choose that pathway just because of the financial, because listen, bankers make more than some doctors.
Oh yeah. In fact, it depends on a lot of bankers make a ton of money. Yeah.
So it's not the case. But Cranky, I appreciate you. There's few. So I think El Granero said, okay, DEI. So obviously, Cranky, we touched on that a little bit. I don't think they were here, but DEI is I think, what's his name? Elon Musk did an interview about DEI recently. he was saying that, oh, they want to get rid of it and all that stuff. But like I mentioned, DEI is just there to help people that obviously me and you are just as smart as the other person, so they can get in spots basically. I don't know if I particularly benefited from DEI. I went to Howard. Howard is all black people, like I said. But I also had offers from other non-black, predominantly black schools. I went to a predominantly white institute, so that's how I wanted to go to Howard, which is a predominantly black institute. So that's kind of how I would say that. But DEI to me is very important because all it does is just leave a spot for people like me and you to do it. Because at the end of the day, you also have to pass the exam that your white counterpart has to pass. There's 3 exams set in the United States that every doctor has to pass, even if you go to school in the Caribbean. It's called Step 1 and Step 2, which is USMLE board exam. That means the government gives you that. I cannot practice in the United States if I didn't pass that, which obviously I passed all of mine. So that's kind of what it is. And those exams are brutally difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, the way we thought about the companies that I work with is this, which is, for example, no one was forced to hire someone who wasn't qualified. What we push, though, is that the recruiting process and interview process has to be inclusive, because what we realized was if most of the people doing the interview are of a certain persuasion, they're going to be inclined to hire people like them. If you have no person of certain persuasion in the interview pool, then of course you're going to get the outcome that's reflective of what the population is of the company if it's not diverse. Right. So it was a more inclusionary type situation, not necessarily affirmative action in its purest form. But in the US, for example, my philosophy is this, as I said, sometimes you got to create your own economy, because if you don't, the system may not be inclusive, and then you're going to be challenged.
Yeah.
All right, Dr.
Another
John.
question, Cranky.
Yeah.
Midnight Cowboy asks about metoprolol and Entresto. So metoprolol and Entresto, it's a beta blocker drug. We usually give that for it can be given for heart failure or high blood pressure. So basically, if you have it's a long pharmacokinetic process I would have to explain, but those are like the big guns that would give for people with heart failure. Entresto. So in medicine, you have something called mortality and morbidity. Mortality means that you're death, right? So Entresto and Jardiance, they have mortality benefits, meaning you take them, they somewhat decreases your mortality rate, your mortality from heart failure. So those drugs just got approved, I think 2 years ago for that. Jardiance also help with people with diabetes as well. So that's 2 in 1. And as I mentioned earlier to Cranky, the number 1 cause of death people with diabetes is heart failure. So it's hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. So that's kind of how that goes, basically.
Is there any other question here? I'm looking through the list. I don't see a ton.
I think that was Granero asked me if I'm a feminist or a liberalist. I'm more so a feminist, Granero. I just believe that, my girl right now is a surgeon, so it's I can't come on and be like, yo, girl, you have to be in the kitchen, bro. It's we kind of give and take. I gotta believe in stuff like that. So I do believe.
So people, so if you're a cardiologist and your girl a surgeon, people, money I run out. Anyway, let me.
Where I'm porous is from RR. Whoa.
Huh?
No, RR is from my area. Basically, he said porous. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Porous. Where's that?
So Cranky. That's right after. That's in Manchester, but right before Mandeville town. I don't know if I'm going to explain it properly.
No, I've heard of porous, but I've never been to. I don't know Manchester that well. I may know the North Coast, the St. Anne, all the way down to Trelawney, Montego Bay, Lucy, Westmoreland. But I don't know the south side of the island that well, actually.
Yeah.
I don't really travel the south side. I travel on the other side.
Something I'm trying to do too, Cranky, because I notices there's only major hospital on the road and no clinic. So if you get into any accident in Jamaica, that's kind of something I want to help too. It's you end up on one end of the island. So it's you're screwed. So it's
Basically, yes.
Yeah, because imagine in the middle belt like porous, right? I mean, something you get into. By the time you get on an ambulance or something like that to get there, you're just as screwed. Which is what happened to a lot of people. Why their lives can be saved, but because they don't have enough equipment and enough places, by the time they get in the ambulance, get called. That's what happened. Also, I've seen videos as well where people watch people die because they don't have the basic training of CPR and all that stuff. If a lot of Jamaicans does that, that can save a lot of lives. So that's something
Right.
that I was talking to my cousin about. I was like, hey, I want to kind of do some stuff like that, to where I can bring some medical awareness, some training and all that stuff to the country. But a lot of people can actually survive in Jamaica, and a lot of things I've read and seen. Yeah. So my goal is, as I travel, as I get older, and as I, travel more and get, deeper into medicine, hopefully I brush shoulders with some big wigs, important people that can help me to bring some awareness to, the island and help people. Yeah. So,
all right, Dr. Don, it's been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate the time. We've been here for over 2 hours. I appreciate the work that you do, and we appreciate you and people in your profession, which is a very challenging one. We're accomplished individuals. Keep doing the good work.
Yeah, appreciate it, Cranky, man. Much love. We do this whenever. Just give me a heads up. We can schedule something again.
All right, sir. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
All right, bye-bye.
And don't make sure you go to bed early so you can get to work by whatever time you get to in the morning.
You know what? I actually operate on 4 hours is 5 hours sleep. I don't need that much now. I don't know why. My body has adjusted.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.
Cranky life is the best to be now. For the best sports talk, and it's free, yo. Cranky life will be your guiding light by keeping you informed both day and night. Cranky life, tell them. Cranky life, heed them. Cranky life, want them. Cranky life. From the coast to the field, we'll never lose because Cranky has the hottest news. With expert analysis, we break it down. Our in-depth coverage is best in town. Cranky life, tell them. Cranky life, heed them. Cranky life, want them. Cranky life. Cranky life where the sports is spicy and where we keep the discussion lively. Cranky life, get to know the name because Cranky analysis is never lame. Cranky life, give me my Cranky life. I want my Cranky life. Must have my cranky life. Whether it's football or track and field, Cranky is at the wheel. So join the journey through victory and defeat and subscribe and don't miss a beat of Cranky life. Tell them, Cranky life. Heed them, Cranky life. Want them, Cranky life. If you're from England or USA, from Kingston or Bombay, from Kenya or Canada, Lagos or Havana, visit Cranky Life. Tune into Cranky Life. Like up Cranky Life. Subscribe to Cranky Life. Cranky Life coming to you on weekdays. Cranky Life sometimes on Sundays. Pull up a chair and take a seat because Cranky will always bring the heat. Cranky Life. Me say fi tell them Cranky life. Me say fi heed them Cranky life. On them Cranky life. Cranky life will be around. Cranky life is the best in town. Me say fi heed them. Me say fi want them. Me say fi heed them. Want them, heed them, want them. Cranky life. Cranky life. Heed them, want them, heed them. Want them, cranky life. Cranky life. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Cranky life. Cranky life. Cranky. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them, heed, want, heed them.